Growth is improving as reforms gather pace, with public finances emerging from the fiscal wilderness. A revised real GDP growth of 1.4% is expected for 2025, while growth for 2026 is forecast at 1.6%. While this is still a long way from government's 3% target down the line, a fourth consecutive quarter of growth now signals better effects from more reliable energy and logistics provision, among a range of other reforms. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says lower borrowing costs and an improved inflation outlook will also encourage private investment and job creation.
Faced with this crisis, we chose not to be defined by it. Instead, we turned it into a catalyst for change.
Even with the cautious optimism, structural constraints continue to limit economic growth, with critical reforms on the table to increase GDP growth, improve government efficiency and scale up public investment. Nogukhanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News in Cape Town.
At the same time, Godongwana has backtracked on his 2025 threat to increase taxes by 20 billion rand thanks to the taxman. After failed attempts to increase the value-added tax rate last year, Godongwana warned that if revenue fell short this year, his hand would be forced to raise taxes. But the Revenue Service has made good on its promise to increase collections, with revenue up 21.3 billion rand, more than was estimated a year ago. Godongwana announced the tax relief when he tabled the 2026 budget in Parliament a short while ago. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
In the current year, most fiscal metrics, including revenue, deficit and debt service costs, are better than projections made in the medium-term budget policy statement in November. Minister Enoch Godongwana has walked back warnings of tax increases in 2026 with improved revenue collection, owing to stronger economic growth and commodity price increases.
The improved fiscal position allows us enough room to withdraw the proposed tax increases without putting fiscal sustainability or economic activity at risk.
After 2 years of no inflationary relief, personal income tax brackets and medical tax credits have been adjusted.
We are also proposing additional tax measures to ease financial burden on households and businesses by adjusting personal income tax brackets.
The minimum tax-paying threshold has now been raised to 245,100 rand per year, while medical tax credits will increase from 364 rand to 376 rand for the first two members. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Officials from the city of Johannesburg have been meeting with informal traders in Braamfontein today to address numerous concerns raised by the traders. Officials from Metro Police, Economic Development and the Joburg Roads Agency are present at that meeting. Last week, the traders marched to Joburg Mayor Dada Morero's office to hand over a memorandum of demands. Jabuli Limbata has more.
The city's informal traders staged a march last week. They were up in arms about being removed from their trading spots by JMPD members. They say officers used brutal force when removing them and confiscated their stock, which leaves them at a financial loss. Last year, the Gauteng High Court ordered the city to register, verify and allocate spaces to the traders. However, in November, about 160 traders received permits, leaving hundreds others without the proper documentation. This means many informal traders in the city have been operating without the necessary documentation. They are demanding the city address the matter so they can trade without being interrupted. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Braamfontein.
Some residents in Joburg are still without water following protests demanding access to a consistent supply. Yesterday, residents in Coronationville and Westbury took to the streets after 3 weeks without water. Today, residents in Melville, Brixton, Claremont and Selby are experiencing intermittent water supply or no water at all. Johannesburg Water has blamed the crisis on failures in the commando system, saying it's under increased pressure. Advocacy group Water Can says delays in completing the Brixton Tower and Reservoir have significantly contributed to Joburg's water woes. Lakatsole Shoro has more.
Areas hardest hit by the water crisis in Joburg received their water supply from Hill 1 and 2 reservoirs. These reservoirs are leaking and have been put on bypass, meaning Rand Water is not pumping sufficient water into them. Water Ken Director Ferrell Adam says this, together with the commander system that has deteriorated after years of neglect, has added to Joburg's water woes.
We've had over a decade of not enough money being spent on maintenance. That is the bottom line.
In addition, delays in the completion of the Brixton Tower and Reservoir have further compounded the problem. Money allocated to the Brixton project was reportedly diverted, leading contractors to stop work because of non-payment. Morero recently committed that the project, expected to provide about 37 million litres of water, will come online this Saturday.
And British luxury car firm Aston Martin will be axing 20% of its workforce. Last month, the struggling car maker blamed US President Donald Trump's tariffs for its losses, which jumped 52% last year. Aston Martin, which employs around 3,000 people, says its latest cost-cutting program will see 600 people being let go. The car firm announced last week that it would be selling the naming rights to the Aston Martin Formula One team for £50 million. Gold is trading at $5,168.69 an ounce. The rand is at 15.92 to the dollar, 21.48 to the pound, 18.74 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.77 a barrel.
In Centurion, expect about a 30-minute delay heading towards the Pretoria CBD. This is on the N14 northbound from the N1 Brakfontein interchange all the way to Jean Avenue due to roadworks. And there's also faulty traffic lights in Marlborough at Marlborough Drive in Zinia.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Treasury says Budget 2026 marks a turning point for the country as efforts to stabilize public finances begin to pay off.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
.702 Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 minutes past 3 on Wednesday, the 25th of February. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Our show's starting a little later than usual today. Well, that's because today was Budget Day, the speech delivered by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. We're going to spend quite a lot of time actually just finding out exactly what the implications are of what he said. We'll hear from our reporter, EWN colleague, Nokukanya Ntambo. You heard her a moment ago. Fuller interview with her coming up in just a moment. We'll chat a little bit later to Kai Sitole, independent analyst, who'll look at the political implications of some of the decisions made and priorities set out in the budget, and we'll take a close look at what the implications are for you and the taxes you are already paying and the taxes you can expect to pay in the next 12 months. But there are other stories that we're covering as well. Ferrell Haffajee from Daily Maverick has been into the Civic Centre of Johannesburg. You know that building in Braamfontein, big imposing structure, supposed to be the heartbeat of the city. You might say, if you look at the way the city's heart is beating, it's no great surprise that its heartbeat is in such a state. But it's in a terrible state. There are homeless people, it would seem, living in the building now, but crucially as well, this place, which is meant to be the repository of all the city's plans, that people depend on if they're planning to put up buildings or alter buildings or simply do things to make the city grow, that is in a dire state as well. Ferrell joining us about that at about 10 to 4. But if you've tried to access plans, for example, from the city, please do give us a call on that. The other big story today is that I think 11 men who were tricked into going to Russia in the belief that they were going for security training and then abducted to the front line of that country's war against Ukraine. 11 of them are coming back. On their way back as we speak, we'll talk to a family member who's heading for the airport, King Shaka International Airport, desperately keen to see a loved one who they thought they might have lost. We'll do that interview in about 10 minutes' time. On the markets, the all share has surged today, up by 1.5%. That's a gain of 865 points. Serious gains coming from metals. The resources index is up by a substantial 4.6%. That's reflected in the list of market leaders. Platinum miner Valterra up by 10.5%. The platinum price today spiking, by the way, by 5.6%. Goldfields is up by 4.6%. Sibanye, another platinum miner, they do gold, of course, as well, up by 4.4%. The SPAR plunge has picked up speed again today. Desperate and dreadful time for that supermarket chain. SPAR down by 6.4%. Motus is weaker by 3.7%. The rand is trading at 15.90 against the dollar. That's a 12-cent gain over the last 24 hours. A euro will cost you 18 rand 74, 14 cents better than this time yesterday, and 21 rand 49 will get you a pound. The rand is stronger against sterling by 12 cents. Oil is still a negative factor out there. Brent crude currently trading at $71.27 a barrel. Stephen Curtis joining us with all the market news at 25 minutes past 4. We'll have sport with Tolakele Mganga. Bali Dlamini joins us again at 3:30 with the latest news headlines. Karabuchali is keeping an eye on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live, and if it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear it here first. With your help, of course, contact us on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. You may have a story you want to share with us that we're not covering at the moment. You may want to share your thoughts on what you've heard or were hoping to hear but didn't from the budget speech. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, as I look up at the TV screens, just doing a round of interviews now. I would have thought he'd said enough already, but of course there are the invariable and inevitable questions that come up after the budget has been delivered. 17 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Lots to talk about, lots to inquire about, lots to think about. And when it comes to thoughts, often the most interesting thoughts are the most random. Now, the question we're going to ask now is not entirely random, but it does have a little bit of a longish tail, as any shaggy dog story would. So let me go just back to the tip of the tail and then get you to the point. We were reflecting on the fact that the budget is mainly, or substantially at least, the amounts are going to be for salaries, paying people's salaries. And then the conversation turned to service that we've either received or not received, be it at home affairs or visiting a police station, dropping in to see someone in hospital or having to go into hospital ourselves, the kind of conversations we have all the time. The next thread in that conversation was, well, are these people doing work that they like, or are they doing it because it's work? And did they go into the job at one point really wanting to be a nurse or wanting to work in the administrative part of the state or whatever it might be? And that led us to the question I'm asking now. What got you into the job that you do? Were you looking for that? Was it a career path? Or is it something you slipped into, drifted into, or just found yourself doing because of circumstances in your life? And crucially, now that you're there, what keeps you there? Is it still that job that you do it because it's a job and pays the bills? Or do you feel that you're still on a path that you pictured and envisaged at the point at which you applied to be put on the payroll there? So I'd love to get your thoughts and your story about how you got into the job that you do and how you feel about it now you're there. 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. Jonathan Fairbairn stepped in, producing the show with Rifue Litsua. Donna, before we talk about yourself, and feel free to do so, I want to ask you this. I mean, most of your friends and the circle of people that you move around, which probably includes a few family members as well, are most of them doing stuff they like, and are they doing things they went looking for, or did the job find them in some haphazard way?
Yeah, afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family. I think, sure, I mean, I'm trying to narrow it down in terms of friends or family, but I think if I looked at friends, possibly, yeah, I think maybe 2 or 3 of them are doing jobs that they specifically wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they had a clear plan from high school. They knew what they wanted to study. And with those particular studies and degrees, they went into roles that were suited to that. And they're fairly happy. They moan sometimes about their jobs, and they feel that sometimes they're bored and overworked and stuff like that. And then I have some friends who kind of found their way in jobs due to maybe circumstances.
Yes.
Like my one mate, started as a personal trainer because he moved to a different country, and that was kind of the easiest thing to do because he had a fascination with the gym and stuff like that, and then found himself running a gym, but now wants to totally get out of that.
Yes,
just not enjoying it.
Yeah.
It doesn't like the quality of life and stuff like that. So I think in most of the circles that I've come around and people that I meet, some people are doing jobs because that is the job that they could get at that particular time.
Yes.
And they've learned to enjoy the job or try and like the job as much as they can, or have aimed to be in a specific industry. They like the industry, but maybe not the particular role that they're in, which I think is a very difficult thing, because if you think about it, the majority of your time, your waking time, you are spending at a job with people that you may or may not like. So it's a tough one, eh?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And I mean, it's not just the time you spend at work, but often that can be some of the most intense parts of your days, either because of what you demand of yourself or what other people demand of you. I mean, Karabo Charlie, we've talked about your radio journey and your journey into radio before, but I mean, your sense of people around you, most of them doing stuff they want to be doing?
Yeah, well, my experience, I have to say, most of the people that I know, close friends and family, most of them are not doing what they were planning on doing.
Yes.
Like John was saying, most of it is circumstances, and most of them have learned to actually adapt and love the job and try to make it as creative and fun as possible. But most of them, if you ask them, I know a few people who have studied like interior decorating, but then they're working as salespeople.
Right.
And I'm like, how is that? Like, don't you feel like you are short-changing yourself in life? And they're like, it is what it is. I have to feed the family. And I don't know how I would live. I don't know if I could deal with working or doing a job that I really didn't like. So I appreciate my job because I've always wanted to be in broadcasting. And by the grace of God, it's happening.
Yeah, well, let's hear your thoughts on 011 883 0702 072 7021 702.
I'm always fascinated by people who have gone into jobs because it was a calling. So,
yes,
nursing, firefighter, I would hope that you've become a policeman because it was a calling and not just because it's a job.
Yeah.
And then how does that go when, you're in this system, and I'm talking specifically public sector,
right,
where this is your calling, you've wanted to take care of people, but because of the system that you're in, it could maybe break you along the way.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd love to hear from those people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And very topical that you raised that, Kabazela, because as I mentioned earlier, so much of the many billions that we've just had the finance minister tell us how he plans to spend, not him, of course, but the government plans to spend will be for the salaries of people in the public sector. So call us on that, 24 minutes past 3.
Drive Home with John Perlman
On 702, let's walk the talk.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Karabo Chali is keeping an eye on that. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. Well, at this stage, we still have about a 30-minute delay in the Centurion area heading towards the Pretoria CBD. That's on the N14 northbound between the N1 Brakfontein interchange and Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. There's also slow-moving traffic leaving the Sandton area. This is heading towards the M1 on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine. And look out for those faulty traffic lights in Ilovo at Oxford and Collard. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's get into then some of the headlines and highlights from the budget speech delivered by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. Lindsay Dentlinger, our EWN parliamentary reporter, is joining us on the line from Cape Town, having had a long day, because what happens, if you didn't know this, some of you might, many of you may not, reporters who are covering the budget get put in what's called a lockup. It's not as bad as it sounds, but they put there and given copies of the speech so they can start going through it, digesting content, working out questions they might want to ask, but they're put in a position having surrendered their cell phones where they can't convey any information about the budget to anyone else. And one major reason for that, of course, is markets move based on what finance ministers say at budget time. Lindsay, a very good afternoon to you. With that preamble, I've made it clear you've had time to hear the speech, but also digest the contents. What for you are the key standing points? I mean, if I said to you budget headlines, please, what would you say?
Good afternoon, John. Well, I think a boring budget, and maybe in this instance, I think a boring budget is a good budget.
Yes,
it's a
please.
good budget. Yes, indeed. From all the things we know over the years of budget, of SOEs being bailed out, and massive debt which is still there. There are none of those kinds of crazy allocations we've become accustomed to. But back to your question, I think the headline really is we've been had this tax whip being hanging over our heads for the last year after the value-added tax debacle of last year, and the finance minister repeatedly telling us, even in November when he tabled the medium-term budget policy statement, that I am still coming for you with taxes in 2026.
Yes.
And he has not done so. And I think in the second part of that headline, John, I think a lot of that is thanks to the taxman being able to collect the money that he said he would, and so that 20 billion rand in taxes that the finance minister had been threatening us was coming in 2026. The Revenue Service has, in actual fact, been able to close that gap with 21.3 billion rand, more than expected, collected. And so we've been spared any additional taxes, John.
Yeah, I mean, that really is great news. Amongst the allocations, I mean, when you hear billions, it sounds like a lot of money. I would imagine no ministry got exactly what they asked for, but who has reason to be at least partially pleased?
Well, we still need a little bit more time to drill into those figures, and I think it will become more apparent in the days ahead.
Right.
But what the finance minister has made clear to us also ahead of tabling this budget in our lockup position today is that and I suppose in a municipal election year, or we expect elections to happen this year, that he is really coming for municipalities. They are not just going to be given money hand over fist. Those that cannot and have shown not to be able to manage their money are not going to get any, and he's going to get intermediaries, other government institutions to help them run their finances. And so I think that is part of, he did set that ball rolling last year already, and there is the expectation that, especially in the big metros, that they're going to have to start creating separate entities for the provision of electricity and water, so that we can make sure that the money that is being collected for those services are being used for that intention. So that is a big takeaway in terms of who gets money. But the departments, those we will have to wait and see who gets what they had hoped for. He has also spoken about the deployment of the army. Of course, many are keen to know what exactly that's going to cost. And the minister saying, well, something like that is a deployment that happens on an emergency basis. There is no specific allocation in the budget. And so that is something Treasury will still be looking at, and whether or not they will be able to allocate what is predicted or estimated might be needed to carry out that deployment, John.
Yeah, and I suppose what that kind of scrutiny will reveal, Lindsay, invariably people will go back to promises made before. For example, we've heard that Operation Valamgodi, which was set up to fight illegal mining, has now stopped because their once-off allocation to go and fight against illegal mining has now come to an end. And yet I see once again there'll be more money for the Defence Force now to fight illegal mining and gangsterism. Obviously, one would hope that people get money for more than 1 year so they can actually put a medium or long-term plan in place. But thank you, Lindsay Dentlinger, with some of the highlights that she's picked out of the budget speech. We'll continue to look for things that we can highlight for you. But obviously, if you've heard something out of that speech that you want to throw out as a point of conversation for the 702 family over the next couple of hours, please do so on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. I am sure we'll hear from Lindsay again a little bit later as she and the rest of the EWN team, Stephen Curtis also down there, by the way, trawl the precinct outside where the speech has been held. I'm so in the habit of saying the parliamentary precinct because that's what I can envision. But, of course, that's not happening at the moment because the burnt-out sections of Parliament haven't been fixed yet. Hopefully that'll be sorted out in time for the next budget. 29 minutes to 4. Let's focus our attention on the very latest eyewitness news in Bali Dlamini, an update from the mine where we had tragedy a few weeks ago, and the situation, it would seem, has just got worse in Bali. You've got the details.
Definitely, it's gotten worse, John. A very good afternoon. Diamond mine Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources has announced it's closing down. The Northern Cape-based mine says a global market downturn coupled with recent events have led to its application for liquidation. Despite the imminent closure, Ekapa says it will continue the search operation for 5 of its miners that remain trapped in one of its shafts following a mudslide last week Tuesday. Motorists will have to dig a little deeper into their pockets to keep their cars on the road following government's decision to raise the fuel levy. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced during his budget speech today that the fuel levy will increase by 9 cents a litre for petrol and 8 cents a litre for diesel. The fuel levy, which helps fund the Road Accident Fund, was also raised last year after being frozen for 2 previous financial years. Godongwana explained that the adjustments to the fuel levy are in line with inflation.
The general fuel levy will go up by 9 cents per litre for petrol and 8 cents per litre for diesel. The carbon fuel levy will go up by 5 cents per litre for petrol and 6 cents for diesel. The Road Accident Fund fuel levy will increase by 7 cents per litre.
Let's stay with the minister's speech. While South Africans are being spared general tax increases for another year, smokers and drinkers will not be escaping the annual increases for their favourite vices. Tabling the 2026 budget today, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced a 3.4% increase in duties on alcohol and tobacco products effective from the 1st of April. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Some reprieve for drinkers and smokers is that this year the proposed increases don't come into effect immediately. They are also far less than they were last year. Beer and ciders will go up by only 8 cents for a 340 milliliter can. Wine will cost 15 cents more, while sparkling wine goes up by 65 cents a litre. Spirits will again be taxed the highest, with an increase of R3.20 a bottle. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says stakeholder consultations on the alcohol excise review will continue this year.
Increases to certain taxes are unavoidable. That's the bad part of me. For 2026, excise duties on tobacco will unfortunately be increased in line with inflation. This includes excise duties on electronic nicotine and non-nicotine delivery system.
Cigarettes will cost 77 cents more for a packet of 20, while heated tobacco sticks go up by 58 cents. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And police in KwaZulu-Natal have uncovered a marijuana lab which allegedly sells drugs to learners in the Lamontville area in the south of Durban. Officers raided the premises opposite a school this morning following what they say was suspicious activity. KZN police spokesperson Paul Magwaza explains.
Upon further investigations, police discovered that the occupants of the house were allegedly selling dagga to the learners. Further investigations into the house led to the discovery of a fully operational dagga cultivation laboratory.
Magwaza adds that 2 suspects were arrested during the operation.
The arrested suspects were charged for dagga cultivation as well as dealing in dagga. They will appear at the Durban Magistrates Court on Thursday, 26 February 2026.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 29 degrees.
Centurion, you can expect more than a 30-minute delay. This is on the N14 northbound from the N1 Brakfontein Road all the way to Jean Avenue. Looks like there's roadworks and an accident seen there. If you're on that route, please let us know. Give us more details. You can WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Well, the breaking news in Eyewitness News this hour, diamond mine Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources has announced that it is closing down.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Tourette's syndrome. You probably heard about what happened at the BAFTA Awards. A guy by the name of John Davidson screamed out the N-word while 2 black artists were delivering an award, and he's very sorry. Heather says Tourette's is uncontrolled expletives. It is not just a racial outburst. The question I'm asking is it a revelation of what somebody truly feels about people? Why doesn't the Tourette's syndrome tick become a positive tick?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
This is a message from Johannesburg Water. Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
We're on the ground and in the air with Thulani Sijo, founder of Take a Pic Drones. What's the flight plan for your connectivity?
The need for stable network connectivity is an absolute must in my field.
And with Telkom Business Fiber and Flexon, Thulani uploads high-res tower inspections and navigates seamlessly on the go.
Get Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month and Flexon 4 Pro from 219 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
How's it, Doff? How's it, Savvy? Why are you sitting in your driveway all by your lonesome, Doff?
Selling my car, Sav. I don't trust the internet. I like to wheel and deal my own wheels. That's how you make way more, Sav.
Okay, so where's your car now, Doff?
Potential buyers took it for a test drive.
When did they take it for a test drive, Doff?
3 days ago.
Should have sold it to We Buy Cars, Doff.
Yeah, Savvy.
Don't be Doff, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for a fast, safe sale, geared for you.
Guess what? The Dis-Chem 2+1 Health Foods Weekend is back. And this time, it's better than ever. Simply pick any 3 of your favorite healthy foods and get the cheapest one free. Look out for the Better Rewards icon and score an extra 10% off Better Rewards brands on top of the promo. We're talking anything from muesli, oats, sauces, spices, healthy snacks, free from foods, and more. Don't miss Dis-Chem's 2+1 Health Foods Weekend, Friday 27 February to Sunday 1 March. Only at Dis-Chem, better health starts here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. This is Angel Jones from Homecoming X.
My story is I worked in advertising for the Saatchi brothers in London for many years. Was there then in a freezing cold sea of South Africans in Trafalgar Square, hearing Mandela say, "I love you all so much, I want to put you in my pocket and take you home." I returned home to advertising, but also to start a non-profit in those days called Homecoming Revolution. We used to have all these events all over the world encouraging South Africans to return. 10 years in, sold my ad business and actually commercialized Homecoming to become Homecoming Executive Search. And now just loving the idea of connecting different top Africans to amazing roles all over the continent. And really have found the purpose. It's all about really connecting people with the jobs they love. And who knew that I would just love doing this?
Good afternoon, Uncle John. Uncle John, I am where I am for survival. I've gotten to love it because I love helping people, working towards helping people, making a change in somebody's life. It's frustrating because you work with people who just don't care, just want to get paid and go home.
Good afternoon, Dr. John and 702 listeners. I'm in my current job because of what I've studied. So having studied commerce, then my job selections or choices became narrowed to that commerce field. So I had to study, and because of over the years I've worked and got promoted in this job, and so this industry now is difficult for me to go somewhere else. So you just go on and on and on. But I think I would have liked, my passion is in teaching. So I love and I enjoy teaching. Thank you.
Thanks for those. And the question we asked earlier is, what got you into the job you do now? Was it something you were led to by things you always wanted to do, a passion you had? Is it a job that you got into because that was what was available at the time and you needed to get busy and work? Family members perhaps who had invested in your future and your education were saying, come, time for you to start contributing, but also to start being in a position where you can help other people. Everybody makes choices, but very few people make the choices purely under circumstances of their own making. So I'm interested to know, and maybe you found your way into a job, didn't think it was what you want, but ended up loving it, actually. Not so for Mongezi, who says, I work for the biggest American retail store through circumstances. I hate it. Hate in block capitals. Biggest mistake of my life. Very hard for people who then have to go and do that 5 days a week, at least 8 hours a day and invariably more. Your story, please, on 072 702 1702. A call if you like on 011 883 0702, 19 minutes to 4.
EWN Sport.
Tola Kelly, a very good afternoon to you. We've got South Africa playing a big cricket match tomorrow, but you've got some other stories as well.
Absolutely, John. We've also got South Africa's women taking on Pakistan in their second ODI. The latest from their innings sees them on 144 for the loss of 3. That's in the 23rd over. At the creases, Dirksen on 12 alongside Sune Luce on 19. Over to the T20 World Cup, where England became the first team to qualify for the semi-finals. This follows a 2-wicket victory over Pakistan. Pakistan had posted 164 for 9 in their 20 overs, and in response, Captain Harry Brooks scored a century as the English chased down the victory target with 4 balls to spare.
As you saw in our fielding innings, it was tough. It was tough to field on there with the bobble, and the outfield was actually really hard. So it was bobbling quite a lot, and thankfully I lost a little bit of weight a couple of years ago because I wouldn't have been able to run all them twos before. But no, we were just trying to put pressure on their fielders as much as possible, and that's something we've spoken about for the last few months.
Khalid Ben Youssef has apologised to Kaizer Chiefs' fans following their 2-1 defeat to Stellenbosch in the Bedway Premiership last night. The Glamour Boys had led 1-0 at half-time but conceded twice in the second as Stellies came back to beat them for the second time in a month, having also eliminated them from the Nedbank Cup. The defeat is the second of the campaign for Amakosi, who remain in 4th and 8 points off the league leaders, but they do have a game in hand.
There's no right substitution or wrong substitution, but the player make it right or wrong. When you make substitution, you expect some performance from the player. If they will perform very well, they will make your substitution right. If their performance will be not good, so that means the substitution is not right. But like I said, for you, there is no substitution right or left or wrong. After the game, everyone can analyze the game, but in this moment, I think we managed very well the game. Unfortunately, the player coming from the back of the bench, the impact player, like I said, for them every time.
And Rassie Erasmus has named a 49-man Springbok squad that features 11 uncapped players for the team's first in-person alignment camp of the year in Cape Town. That camp will run from the 3rd until the 6th of March as the Boks prepare for their 2026 season, which will see them play 11 test matches. Frans Malherbe is back following his recovery from injury. Riley Norton and Siposetu Mnebelele are promoted after success with the under-20s, while 5 players have received their maiden invites, including Emmanuel Chituka and Zachary Porthen. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's start warning you of where the traffic problems are. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Plumlink, your local plumbing store. Visit plumlink.co.za to find your nearest store. Karabo Charlie already busy out in Centurion, and a couple of problems there that you need to tell people about.
Yeah, we've been having issues through the Centurion area heading towards the Pretoria CBD this week. Today you can still expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on the N14 northbound from the N1 Old Joburg Road all the way to Jean Avenue. It looks like there's roadworks and an accident scene there. There's also slow-moving traffic that's leaving Sandton heading towards the M1 on Greyston Drive between Catherine and Rivonia Road, and in Boksburg, traffic sluggish N17 East between Rondebolt and Carnival City, also due to roadworks. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. If it's plumbing, you'll find it at Plumlink, South Africa's largest plumbing retailer. From pipes, fittings, geysers and baths to basins, taps, tools and accessories, we've got it all. With more than 10,000 quality products at the right price and over 150 stores nationwide, there's always a Plumlink near you, ready to help with expert advice and unbeatable value. Find your nearest branch today at plumlink.coza.
Plumlink, your local plumbing store.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. Coming up, we're going to be talking to Ferrell Hafferty, Associate Editor, Daily Maverick. She's been into the hollow shell. I don't know what else to call it, except it's not hollowed out because it still contains all sorts of important things. We're talking about the Joburg Civic Centre office, which has been abandoned. Metro Centre, formerly known as the Joburg Civic Centre, has been abandoned and left to ruin. What does it look like? And crucially, what are the implications? That's coming up in a moment. Tola Kelly, we've just been chatting about jobs and the way people get into work. Is it something they always wanted to do and then maybe found out that it's not what they expected, or they are thriving, and then other people say, well, all right, I'm not in a position to do what I really want to do, but this is going, and I got to work, fish got to swim. So I'm just wondering, from your circle of friends and family, are most of them doing things they like, or mix?
It's a mix, but I'd probably say 75%, 80% are doing what they studied.
Okay.
But also the wonderful thing is, I think with my generation, is you're realizing that you don't always have to be the same thing for the rest of your life. Probably like 90% of my friends are going after a second degree now, where they're like, okay, the next step for me is this. So that's the one thing where they just think like the world is their portal. But also I think social media has also changed, where even the things that they used to view as hobbies, they can also just make money off that. So even if they don't like their regular 9 to 5, there's something else that makes them excited, and they can use their passions and their talents in other ways.
That's such an interesting thing that you just said, that, often when people talk about, sometimes they talk about side hustles or freelance or whatever, one tends to think of it purely in terms of extra money, and it obviously is that. But what you seem to be saying is people say, well, okay, this is steady. I'm not crazy about it, but I'm happy to do it or willing to do it. But actually, I'm going to initially as a sideline see what I can do with some of my passions.
It's because also, John, you work a job that's like what? 90% of the year you're at and you're at your desk. Some of it is very repetitive. So you need that excitement, but also you can also use the people that you work with to help you test out a few things. A former colleague of ours, Lerato Herfela, she loved to bake.
Yes.
So when she was like, she's bringing her goodies for us to test out, we loved those. Then it ended up being a situation where she was able to take orders and stuff like that. So try that little thing that you just do for fun. See how you can make money off it to kind of take the pressure off your regular 9 to 5.
Yeah, and see if maybe the balance shifts and the sideline becomes the main line. Interesting. Call us with your work journey, please. Did you get into something that you really wanted to get into, or did you perhaps stumble into something that you ended up loving or not? Everyone has a tale to tell. I'd like to hear yours. 072 702 1702. It's 11 minutes to 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, today on Budget Day, of course, we hear about millions and indeed billions that are going to be spent in the year to come. But one of the main themes, I think, of South Africa and its various travails in different levels of government is our failure to use and make proper use of what we have. And there's a really quite startling example of that in a couple of stories that have appeared on the Daily Maverick website. One of them by their writer on Metro Matters, Anna Coxon. I recommend you read that, although make sure you're seated. But the others come out from Associate Editor at Daily Maverick, Ferrell Hafferty, and that's to do with the Joburg Metro Centre. For almost 3 years now, it has been abandoned, left to rack and ruin, and indeed that's exactly what is happening. It is getting ruined. There are a number of consequences of this. Firstly, it is an asset that belongs to everybody who contributes to the running of the city, which is probably just about everybody who lives in Joburg that's listening. The second is vast amounts of money are being spent on renting alternative space, which is arguably entirely unnecessary, but critically as well. A vital part of what should be happening at Metro Centre, people who want to help the city grow, even if it is in small ways, by accessing the plans that are housed there, simply can't do so. So let's go through all of these different issues, and welcome to the show, Ferrell Hafferty, joining us from Daily Maverick. Ferrell, a very good afternoon to you. It sounds like you went there yourself. If you didn't, colleagues of yours did. But very early in your story, you say Daily Maverick gained access to the building and found a place of ghosts. Describe the place of ghosts for us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. So yes, I mean, we'd heard that this place was being occupied by people who need homes. They should be given homes by the city, but then they were finding themselves in there. So first we went to a section that used to be the Municipal Information Services building. I guess where they used to hold servers back in some time ago, before tech grew as much as it did. Anyway, that was truly terrifying. You step into it and it had been, all the wires had been ripped out. There was a rancid smell, and obviously people had begun to live there and also take out anything of value that had been left. What surprised me is that this was years after there had been a fire at that place, but it had never been fixed or secured or in any way repaired after that fire. It had just been left as at the day after the fire, and for me that meant that somebody hadn't been doing their work, because nobody leaves a piece of prime real estate of the city in that condition. Then in the rest of the building, that was the part that really blew my mind actually, is it really looked like a movie, where people just leave. They get up from their desks and you leave like a 9/11 movie or something. There were still signs on all the doors. There was this expensive equipment. Some places people's lunch had been left there, their jerseys or whatever. And that's not the way that the building was exited. There was no emergency that meant there had to be an emergency evacuation. This, to me, after I've studied it for years, is just pure carelessness. It looks like the locked library looked for all those years as well.
I'm going to come back to the why of and I'm going to call it the pretext for evacuating the building, A, on the scale, and B, in this way. But let's get to the crucial middle bit of the work that you and Anna Cox have been doing. And that is the plans to the city are housed there. The plans to the city are absolutely critical for anybody who wants to do anything in Johannesburg. And those, what's happened to them? Are they lying around in abandoned piles, or have they been privatized and people are selling them for private profit? Is it a mix of all of that?
So the city said that they would be digitized and moved, and that was 250 days ago, well, 251 days ago.
Yes.
That hasn't happened at all because a reader sent me a note in the week of someone, a town planner who tried to get plans, and they were told that the runner couldn't go into the building because now the lifts have stopped working. So they're in the what's called the annex. That's where all those plans are, and where Masaka Kana of Carte Blanche told that story so beautifully.
Yes.
But they are also in the other parts of the building, and that's what we saw, detailed maps and zoning permissions and files and files and files of documents. It's all stuck there. And so now if the lifts are not working, you can't get it. And then today, after reading the story, a Joburg resident said to me, she was one of those who's had to pay a fortune to have her plans redrawn. And Heather Dodd, the architect who we've worked with on this story, also said many people are similarly just giving up the ghost and saying, okay, we'll have them redrawn. Then Anna, of course, has put in for her plans as a way of testing the system, and she hasn't had it back, I think, since October now.
So, and I'd like to come back to some of that, but I just want to make sure we cover all the angles that I foreshadowed when I introduced you, Ferial. The city is not spending, it would seem, any money on safeguarding the plans, which are a city asset. They do not belong to the political party of the day or parties of the day that run the place. This is an asset built up over decades. But park that for a moment. Instead of spending money on fixing this, securing the place, they are spending what you describe as literally billions of rand, renting properties in 20 lease buildings, despite the fact that they actually own almost 29,000 properties of their own. What's going on?
Yeah, so that I didn't understand, but I've been looking at it for some years now. Is the mayor, for example, sits a stone's throw away from the Metro Center in properties that belong to a company called Bayeta Capital. So he's not in his offices or in this public space, but he sits in this rented building. The city managers, well, all the departments now are scattered across the city, and there's no map of where you can find the department you need into 20 private sector lease buildings. Now, this is done in terms of something, it's quite Orwellian actually, called the Office Space Optimization Plan, but it's the Private Office Space Optimization Plan. I don't know how this was allowed to happen. When the city does have all these properties, I, of course, asked Lucky Sindani, and he says it's because none of those properties are properly habitable.
So I want to go back then to the very beginning and ask this. At the point at which, and as you say, despite people leaving their lunch and their jerseys behind, nobody actually had to flee the building. Was Metro Centre ever uninhabitable to the point where it couldn't have been fixed and presumably there were some things that were wrong? Or has this been a massive scam, actually, that the place could have been fixed? It could have been rendered usable and habitable, not only for the people who work there, but the people who depend on their services like planners, builders, entrepreneurs, homeowners. The list is a long one. Was the building ever at a point where it couldn't be fixed?
You know, one thing I learned from doing our slot for so long from you is don't rush to judgment.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Listen and push and ask and
Yes.
learn. So there are lots of these reports from labor inspectors and from the emergency services department about these two fires, which the JPC, the property company, and certain city officials will tell you that meant the building was unsafe for the staff who sat in it. In fact, through the years, I've spoken to, I think, scores of people who work there, and they agree that that was just a scam to undertake this mega plan. And what's the mega plan? It's the building of a huge campus, the rebuild of that metro center, which they are going to take over 10 years to do, and you just can imagine the money that's going to pour into that. So for me, it's like it's a heist. Huh?
Yeah, a heist indeed. Ferial Hafaji, thank you, Associate Editor at Daily Maverick. Now, I'm sure there are many of you out there who can contribute to the story. First off, if you worked at Metro Centre across the transition between it being perfectly serviceable, perfectly habitable, but that was then abandoned, tell us, did you ever feel unsafe there? Did you see things there in the time when you all, in inverted commas, had to flee that made you feel, shoo, I'm glad we're out of there? So that's the first question. Second, anybody trying to do anything that would generate wealth and prosperity? Yes, of course, for yourself, but add to the potential wealth and prosperity of other people in the city. Are you battling with the inability to actually get access to the plans of the city, which should be a public resource? Please call us on that on 702 1702.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
On the Midday Report, every day from 12 to 1 p.m, we will bring you breaking news from the scene as it unfolds with newsmakers, reporters, commentators, experts and analysts. We'll explain the stories of the day, give you context for why they are important and what they mean for you. It is everything you need to know in 1 hour, from news to global events, business, sports, science, books, and always some good news too. Appointment listening every day at 12 with the Midday Report.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
In business, the right connections change everything. It's the stability you need for that once-in-a-lifetime virtual pitch, the lightning-fast speeds that keep you ahead of deadlines, and the consistent, high-quality signal your teams rely on every single day. Because when your connectivity works seamlessly, so does your business. Power your workday with fast, reliable fiber from OpenServe, built to keep your operations running at full speed. Visit openserve.co.za today to learn more. T's and C's apply.
Right, gang, are we all in? Liam? Here. Ethan? Here. Andrew? Here. Luca? Yeah. Amelia? Yeah. Violet? Yeah, Mom. Introducing the Chungun CS75 Pro, a powerful turbocharged engine, modern safety features, and room with 7 seats for everyone.
Hey, that's not everyone. You forgot Choppy, Mom.
Oh, Choppy. The all-new CS75 Pro from $4,999 per month. T's and C's apply.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
10 years ago, Illuma Capital set out with one goal: to help people like you build a legacy for tomorrow. Through personalized strategies and unwavering dedication, we've been instrumental in helping our clients achieve their financial dreams, whether it's securing retirement, growing wealth, or planning for the unexpected. For a decade, we've been trusted to guide your financial journey with expertise and care. Visit illuma.co.za today. Illuma Capital is a licensed FSP. T's and C's apply.
Naked people run faster, because naked people spend less time on insurance admin and more time working on their personal bests. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP.
This is EWN.
Ekapa mine files for liquidation while the search for 5 trapped miners continues, and Godongwana announces a slight boost for social grant beneficiaries. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. A Northern Cape mine where 5 workers are trapped underground has announced it will be closing down. Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources says it has applied for liquidation, citing a global market downturn coupled with recent events. Despite the imminent closure, Ekapa says it will continue the search for 5 of its miners trapped in one of its shafts after it was hit by a mudslide last Tuesday. The company says the workers are now presumed dead and it's working on recovery operations. Alfara Mushwana reports.
In a statement released this afternoon, Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources says the diamond industry has experienced unprecedented pressures over the past 18 months. This includes reduced global demand, the rise of low-cost synthetic diamonds and tariffs. Ekapa says it had a plan this year to shift towards the mining of higher-grade kimberlite rocks, particularly at its Du Toitspan shaft. However, the shaft has now been closed indefinitely due to last Tuesday's incident where it was hit with a large mudslide, trapping 5 miners under 890 meters of water, rocks and sand. Ekapa says restoring access to the shaft would take between 10 to 18 months and requires a significant investment which it cannot secure under the current financial conditions. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has announced some increases in social grants in line with inflation. The old age pension will go up by 85 Rand to 2,400 Rand a month. This is the same for the disability grant, while war veterans will get an extra 20 Rand in their pockets. However, the social relief of distress grant will remain at 370 Rand for another year. Tabling the 2026 budget in the National Assembly this afternoon, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana warned that abuse of the grant system will not be tolerated. Lindsay Dentlinger takes a look.
Social grants still constitute the largest share of spending on social development. Excluding the Social Relief of Distress grant introduced 6 years ago at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister Enoch Godongwana says 292.8 billion Rand will be spent this year on social grants for 26.5 million beneficiaries.
Honourable members were committed to improving access to many South Africans deserving and eligible for social support. Abuse of the system, however, will not be tolerated.
The verification process, which caused mayhem at offices across the country last year, has led to 34,661 grants being cancelled.
Enhanced targeting of social grants authentication of beneficiaries to reduce fraud in the grant system will yield 3 billion of savings.
The foster care grant will increase to 1,295 Rand, while the child support grant rises to 580 Rand. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Let's stay with the minister's speech. Government is continuing to tighten the belt on wasteful and ineffective programs in another bid to scale down on high expenditure. While tabling his budget speech, Minister Enoch Godongwana also gave an update on the revised spending plans, including 12 billion Rand in savings that have been identified over the medium term. Nogukanya Mtambo has the details.
Government has begun implementing its early retirement program in what it believes will rejuvenate the public sector workforce and manage the elevated wage bill. Since the program started in October last year, more than 7,600 applications have been approved. The estimated net saving from this program is 5.5 billion rands. Half of that is expected to be realized in the 2026-27 cycle. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the phenomenon of ghost workers has also been one of the most striking weaknesses of public financial management.
In the budget in May 25, we made the statement that we will do everything possible to use savings arising or expenditure reviews to fund future projects. In other words, tax will be the last resort.
Godongwana says a sophisticated verification process is now underway to address this. Nogukanya Mtambo, Eyewitness News in Cape Town.
Some areas in Johannesburg are still without water following protest action demanding access to a consistent supply. Yesterday, residents in Coronationville and Westbury took to the streets after 3 weeks without water. Today, residents in Melville, Brixton, Claremont and Selby are experiencing intermittent supply or no water at all. Joburg Water has blamed the crisis on failures at the commander system, saying it's under increased pressure. Dimakatso Leshoro has more.
Areas hardest hit by the water crisis in Joburg received their water supply from Hill 1 and 2 reservoirs. These reservoirs are leaking and have been put on bypass, meaning Rand Water is not pumping sufficient water into them. Water Ken Director Ferrell Adam says this, together with the commander system that has deteriorated after years of neglect, has added to Joburg's water woes.
We've had over a decade of not enough money being spent on maintenance. That is the bottom line.
In addition, delays in the completion of the Brixton Tower and Reservoir have further compounded the problem. Money allocated to the Brixton project was reportedly diverted, leading contractors to stop work because of non-payment. Murara has recently committed that the project, expected to provide about 37 million litres of water, will come online this Saturday. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
And the European Union has imposed tighter border controls on imports of a baby milk ingredient from China. Recalls worldwide of infant formula produced by food companies like Nestle and Danone and others have sent alarm bells ringing. The ingredient, cerealite, was singled out as a source of a major contamination scare. The contamination was first detected in December in batches of formula. More than 60 countries are affected, and according to reports, an estimated 100 children in Europe have shown symptoms consistent with the contamination. Gold is trading at $5,169.68 an ounce. The rand is at 15.92 to the dollar, 21.48 to the pound, 18.74 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.78 a barrel.
In Centurion, driving into the Pretoria CBD, you can now expect more than an hour delay on the N14 northbound. This is from the N1 Old Pretoria off-ramp all the way to Jean Avenue due to roadworks. There's also slow-moving traffic in Sunning Hill on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell Drive.
In your sport, the latest from the second ODI between the Proteas women and Pakistan. Keshaf Maharaj looks ahead to the Proteas Super 8s clash against the West Indies tomorrow. And Stellenbosch ease their relegation fears with victory over Kaizer Chiefs. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated afternoon showers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 14 degrees, peaking at 27. Pretoria 17 and 28, and Vereeniging 14 and a high of 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, a Northern Cape mine where 5 workers remain trapped underground has announced it will be closing down its business.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 10 past 4, so we have had the budget speech. Of course, there's a whole lot more detail that needs looking into. Each department will be presenting their budgets and their plans for the year. All of that will unfold over the coming weeks. But enough has been said about what decisions the Treasury has made in regard to tax for us to delve into the implications and look at the alternatives. Professor Keith Engel, Chief Executive Officer at the South African Institute of Taxation, will be our guest on that in 3 or 4 minutes' time. Also coming up a little bit later in the show, reaction to what the politics of the budget might be. In other words, which departments are getting what and what did the ministers say? For example, he made a very interesting point saying the money that comes from the skills levy that goes to SETAs, for instance, has not been a success. Not money well spent, he says. So what does that mean? Big changes afoot there, and there are lots of other little clues in the speech that we'll explore after 5 with analyst Kaya Sitole. He was down in Cape Town, so I'm sure he had some very interesting chats after the budget speech as well. He'll share the nuggets from that with us at about 10 minutes past 5. Another round of the Brain of 702, 3 more days before we produce our final finalist. And then, of course, the big moment where all the contestants play off for the title of Brain of 702. This round today will come your way at around 10 minutes to 5. Now, we've been talking about quite a number of things, and we're going to play some of your voice notes. I asked a little bit earlier about the job you're in. Was it the job you were looking to have? Was it a job you kind of found your way into because you needed to find some work, had bills to pay, and a life to get underway, or the next phase of your life to get underway? And how's all of that turned out? But the other thing we spoke about in great detail, and I really urge you to go to the Daily Maverick site, 2 articles, one by Ferial Hafaji, who we spoke to a moment ago, about the state of the Metro Centre and its absolute decrepitude and the implications of that for people who are trying to actually get on with their lives, build things either for themselves or others or both. Like this listener who says, we had to have our house plans redrawn at huge cost. Huge in block capitals, because we wanted to sell our house. Such a simple, basic transaction that ought to be a part of ordinary life and metropolitan service. Let me go on with the message. Approved plans just missing in action. As it is a very older house, we also had to pay for heritage approval at both provincial and local level from scratch. And then adds, I worked in that building, referring to Metro Centre, for years. It is absolutely heartbreaking. Now, there's much been said in response by various people in the city saying, no, you're wrong. All the studies that were done show that the building was uninhabitable and this was the most cost-effective way to deal with it. I'm not a big one for recommending another commission of inquiry, but I do wonder if there is a case to be made for there to be an inquiry into this matter. And I would have thought you could do it fairly quickly. Certainly, you could do it in a very, very decisive way. Somebody with the requisite skills and authority and power of subpoena just to look through the documents, go through all the reports that said this is uninhabitable, go through all the leases that have been concluded as a response to the building being, in inverted commas, uninhabitable, and then go through the inventory of other properties that the city has. That they say, no, those can't be used either because those are uninhabitable or not fit for purpose. And once they've trawled through all of that, and I think it could be done without having to appoint a massive commission a la Madlanga, then you get a baseline on whether people have actually been telling the truth up to now, or have they been either economical with it or have they been flat out dishonest. Let's establish that and then move from there and decide what happens next. That's just my suggestion. I wonder if you've got a better idea. I'm hoping you do. It's 4:15.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. So I studied psychology and I got my honors degree, and it never really worked out for me. But while I was studying, I got an opportunity to tutor some students in math. That was way back in 2007 about. And that turned into my career. So now I teach mathematics privately at people's homes until 9 or 10 in the evening. And you won't believe how much psychology is in that. But I'm very far from my plan A when I studied to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And now I'm doing math more than 12 hours a day, and I'm actually loving it.
Good afternoon, Mr. John. The job that I'm doing now is nothing that I ever thought I'd do in my life. But because of circumstance, I had to do it. I'm currently a driver, and before that, I'm actually an auditor. I'm actually an accountant. But because 2 years ago I had to leave my job because of mental health issues, I stayed almost a year without a job, and then I started with this one last year in July. I'm motivated to wake up in the morning, to be honest, and I'm more energetic, I'm more positive. It's a really fraction of my normal salary, but I'm happier. I'm looking to go back into the profession, but there's just no jobs, really. Accounting jobs need industry experience now, so it's no more like when you're an auditor, you can do it all. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm happier, and yeah, this is from Soshanguve.
Yeah, fascinating stories. Thanks for sharing those. I did ask the question, what did you set out to do? Are you doing the job that you thought you would do or planned to do? And if it's not what you're doing, have you found that you actually love it? As we've just heard from two people now. Or do you feel that you're kind of treading water? And Tola Kele, as I mentioned earlier, you might have missed it, made a really, really interesting point, saying that some people are taking their passions, turning them into side hustles, smaller things that can become bigger things and may actually then become the predominant revenue or passion generating thing in your life. So your story, please, 072 702 1702. The budget and tax in a moment, but not before we've told you about the traffic.
EWN Traffic.
Karabochali Centurion is a big place. Which part of it has problems?
Well, that's if you're leaving the Midrand area heading into the Pretoria CBD. You can now expect more than an hour delay on the N14 northbound. This is from the N1 Old Joburg Road all the way to Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. Sunning Hill, also bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell. Bryanston heading towards Four Ways. Expect some delays. N1 South from Rivonia Road to Winnie Mandela Drive in Sandton. This is heading towards the M1. There's slow-moving traffic on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine. Still in the Sandton area, heading towards Midrand. Traffic pressure M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland to the Butlu interchange. While in Boksburg, travelling towards Brakpan, traffic remains sluggish. N17 eastbound from Rondebult to Carnival City due to roadworks. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
A report by the Basic Education Department, 15% of grade 3 learners across the country cannot make out a single word they read. Just let that sit with you. They're in grade 3. What are some of the earliest words we read? Mama, Dada, Baba. I can't make out a single word. In grade 3. How did they get from 1 to 2 to 3? How worrying is that?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
In business, the right connections change everything. It's the stability you need for that once-in-a-lifetime virtual pitch, the lightning-fast speeds that keep you ahead of deadlines, and the consistent, high-quality signal your teams rely on every day. Because when your connectivity works seamlessly, so does your business. Power your workday with fast, reliable fiber from OpenServe, built to keep your operations running at full speed. Visit openserve.co.za today to learn more. T's and C's apply.
Naked people always get dessert. Because naked people spend less money on insurance premiums, they've got more money for Mulva pudding, or cheesecake, or both. With Naked, you can cover your car, home, and stuff in seconds. And because it's all online, it also costs less. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and start treating yourself like naked people. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
New deals for the Checkers Extravaganza are here. Save extra on top picks, like Clover Crush 100% fruit juice blend 1.5 litre, any two for 75 Rand. Nescafe Gold instant coffee, 200 or 220 grams for 149.99. And Finish dishwashing tablets, 45.50 or 56 per pack for 229.99 each. Valid until 1 March, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Whether you love watching great films or dream of making them, the Joburg Film Festival, in partnership with MultiChoice Group, a Canal Plus company, from the 3rd to the 8th of March has something for you. Experience powerful local and international cinema on the big screen and tap into the JBX Talks, where the people shaping film unpack the craft, the business, and the future of storytelling. It's more than a festival, it's a front row seat to the film world. Book your tickets now at joburgfilmfestival.co.za.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, there are so many different ways of listening to and absorbing what comes out in the budget speech. Today we heard, of course, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivering his for 2026. On the one hand, there's the big picture stuff, how much is being spent on policing, how much will be given to the Defence Force or the Department of Education. And then there are the critical things around where they get the money from, i.e. from you and me and everybody else that you know. Taxation, what did the Minister have to say about it and what does it mean? Let's welcome to 702 Drive Professor Keith Engel. He's CEO at the South African Institute of Taxation. Prof, welcome and thanks so much for giving us your time today. The Minister is saying, and I quote, we're proposing additional tax measures to ease the financial burden on households and businesses by adjusting personal income tax brackets and rebates fully in line with inflation. Sounds somewhat like a holding action. Could the Minister have done more? Good afternoon.
Well, I doubt he could have done more given that we're still in a very fiscally tough situation. We were thankful that they did what should have been done all along. So I would say this. I think this is good news. What you're seeing is last year, the minister was talking about increases, right? We had the fun with the VAT, and he said, if I can't get it through the VAT, I'm going to increase it elsewhere. And then our commissioner, Mr. Kieswetter, said, I'll get the money for you through better collections and hopefully falling on the non-compliant. And it turns out between a little bit of unexpected growth and as well as better collection efforts, which has been going on for SARS for quite some time, we're now saying we don't need a tax increase. It's off the table, and we can finally get our debt to GDP ratio down. And so the normal thing in a normal year is you should always get inflationary increases, but we've been without them for so long that finally the wake-up call, it's nice to have to do what the responsible thing is. So I think we would say we're thankful for what we get. We could argue we should get more, but we'll take it.
When I look at all the different elements, I think, okay, on the thing we've just discussed, the adjustment for inflation, I'm doing well there. However, the petrol levy has gone up and so on and so on. And one trawls through all the different things that the minister has to say that in one way or another relate to the money going in and out of my pocket. On balance, I mean, is this, and I do acknowledge, obviously, people have very differing ranges of circumstances, but on balance, has the South African citizen done reasonably well today?
Yeah, no, they've done reasonably well, I guess because of what we were facing. I remember the debt was getting out of control, and so we were saying, well, is all of this going to fall on the taxpayer? And in addition, what you saw last year was the government said, even though debt is increasing, we want to spend even far more.
Right.
So what you saw government now, perhaps because of the GNU, perhaps other forces, everybody is talking about restraint and saying we're not going to come at the taxpayer hard. Although to note, we shouldn't be too excited. If you look at the details closely, right now we have a tax to GDP ratio of 25.9, which is relatively high. It's a high rate. And yet we don't have it's a rate like the Europeans get without the services. And you see they want to increase it from 24.9 to 26.1. So the one hand, you won't see any legislative changes, but there will be a more aggressive effort on the part of SARS. And the key is that aggressive effort going after the non-compliant as one would hope and as they intend, or do we fall by accident on you and me? And with harsher interpretation. So that's a troubling sign. But
Yes.
in this moment, let's be thankful for what we got.
Prof, just finally, I mean, and I want to go back to something you said in your first answer about SARS and Edward Kieswetter saying, don't raise VAT, we'll get it for you and we'll work more efficiently. One of the concerns, though, would be, for example, and I don't know if we're going to see it in this year or next, for example, if we get a gold and platinum boom as we're having now, SARS revenues will go up. Are there numbers, though, that tell you that SARS is working more efficiently around the areas of compliance that you highlighted? Because that would make us less dependent, I would think, on, for example, a commodity cycle.
Yeah. No, look, we're always going to have that. And I think even the commissioner mentioned, he said, look, we're more efficient, but the commodity cycle, there's no substitute like growth.
Yes,
and
yes.
Even if they're more efficient and all of a sudden our growth falls off the ground, we're going to be hurt. So they can only do so much. But to be fair to the revenue service, if you look back in the Magnani days, you really seen a major turnaround effort on the part of SARS. Not only, I would argue that they're more efficient today than they were under the Pravin-Gordon era. So they really have achieved a lot. There are things where we want more. I think the biggest frustration is we're trying to get the wholly non-compliant.
Yes.
So you see people with tax debts. Now, some of those debts are not real, but some people legitimate tax debt. It's hard to collect the money. It's hard to collect money where people are operating in cash and they're hiding money, government tender money. Those areas, really, there is effort being made, but it's always a question, is there enough? And that was where I think the bigger money is. The problem is if you don't get it, then you'll see more aggression on smaller items on you and me. So, but they've done better than anyone else. So let's be fair to them.
Thanks.
That's my argument.
Thanks so much, Professor Keith Engel, joining us from the South African Institute of Taxation, where he is CEO. It's 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Recently released from lockups, Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
If only that were the case. Can you imagine the book I would write, John? Good afternoon to you. Well, so much, of course, in the budget today, and so much to sort of talk about from it. I mean, you've just been talking about it, of course, sort of in a nutshell. Tax brackets adjusted for inflation. There are no other tax increases except for inflation-linked increases on things like booze and tobacco, as you've been talking about. The same, of course, for fuel levies and what you pay for fuel. Those could have been higher, but they're not. They're staying at inflation. Also, I thought important to say tighter controls for municipalities. The National Treasury wants a bit more control on how all of that's going to work and the money that they give to municipalities. And then, and I think this is going to be a bigger story going forward, the compulsory threshold for registration for VAT for small businesses moves from R1 million, it's been there for quite a while, to 2.3 million rand. I suppose basically bringing it in line with what it should have been for quite some time. And I think that's probably quite an important step from the National Treasury today. All of that, of course, having some interesting responses to the market, but there are also, and we've made this point before many times, there are also, of course, so many other factors in the markets at the moment that it's not all necessarily having a big impact in the way that you might just expect. So the JSE All Share is up 1.5% at 127,075. I think that might be a new record, John. Resources are much stronger, and I think that's really pushing things up. Financials are down 0.8, industrials are down 0.01, but resources up 5.29%. Gold is looking stronger, platinum much stronger, in fact, and that's having a big impact. Valterra is up 11.3%. Other platinum miners are too. Valterra picking a pretty good day to declare their first standalone results, John, because they've said that their headline earnings per share doubled, mainly because of much higher platinum prices. It's returning 12 billion rand to shareholders through dividends, produced slightly more platinum than it had forecast as well. So all of that's having a nice big increase, having a nice big impact. And other platinum miners are doing quite nicely too, as you would expect. Gold miners doing quite well as well. So Northam's up 6.62, Implat's up 6, Goldfields up 5. The usual sort of story. MTN, another strong day for them. They're up 3.6%. The Motors Group, John, down nearly 5% on the day, despite the fact that they reported their profits up by 20% in the 6 months to the end of of December, increased its interim dividend. Strong rebound in car sales, they say. New vehicle sales up by 13% over the period. The SPAR Group down again. After what happened over the last couple of days, down 9%. I think investors are sending a signal that this is a company in a lot of trouble. Richmond down 3%, Mondi down 2.62%. And I should just point out, Boxer, Pick n Pay were down yesterday, but Boxer down 2.48% on the day. In the US, Wall Street, the main indices expected to open slightly higher. Investors have been looking at risks to the AI trade, also concerns about tariff doubts, but we expect later earnings from NVIDIA, and that tends to sort of set the pace a little bit for the NASDAQ and one or two of the other shares. The gold price, $5,189.36 an ounce. Platinum, $2,313.12. Brent crude, $71.01. The rand to the dollar, $15.88. To the euro, $18.71. To the British pound, $21.45. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, let's find out what's happening out in the wide world of eyewitness news. EWN's Bali Dlamini with the latest.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. In a bid to support army deployment in gang-riddled provinces, Treasury has proposed increasing the budget for peace and security by 21 billion rand over the next 3 years. This would raise the total allocation for peace and security from the current 268 billion rand to 291 billion. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana made the announcement during his budget speech this afternoon. The move follows President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement in his State of the Nation address that soldiers would be brought in to bolster crime-fighting efforts. Godongwana broke down the proposed financial boost.
2.7 billion is added to defense over the medium term to improve operations, including maintaining the South African Air Force fighting capability. A quick question arises about the additional deployment of the Defense Force. I'm saying the law acknowledges that the President may at any point in time deploy the armed forces.
Staying with the minister's speech, while South Africans are being spared general tax increases for another year, smokers and drinkers will not be escaping the annual increases for their favourite vices. Tabling the 2026 budget today, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced a 3.4% increase in duties on alcohol and tobacco products effective from the 1st of April. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Some reprieve for drinkers and smokers is that this year the proposed increases don't come into effect immediately. They are also far less than they were last year. Beer and ciders will go up by only 8 cents for a 340 milliliter can. Wine will cost 15 cents more, while sparkling wine goes up by 65 cents a litre. Spirits will again be taxed the highest, with an increase of R3.20 a bottle. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says stakeholder consultations on the alcohol excise review will continue this year.
Increases to certain taxes are unavoidable. That's the bad part of me. For 2026, excise duties on tobacco will unfortunately be increased in line with inflation. This includes excise duties on electronic nicotine and non-nicotine delivery system.
Cigarettes will cost 77 cents more for a packet of 20, while heated tobacco sticks go up by 58 cents. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The case against a prosecutor accused of corruption has been postponed to April. Thandeka Moseneke made a brief appearance in the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria today. She was arrested last year for allegedly accepting a 1,000 rand bribe in exchange for not enrolling a theft matter onto the court roll in 2021. Jabuli Limbata has more.
In 2021, a man was accused by his employer of stealing medicine and was subsequently arrested at the Weideburg police station. It emerged that the accused bribed the investigating officer on the matter with 5,000 rand for his release. The investigating officer then paid the prosecutor, Thandwa Moseneke, 1,000 rand to not enroll the matter in the courts. After the release of the accused, his employer lodged a complaint with the management of the investigating officer, because the matter had not gone to court. The investigation revealed that the officer had accepted the bribe and was subsequently dismissed and later formally charged by the court with the suspended sentence of 5 years. This is while the prosecutor was investigated for her role for 4 years until her arrest in 2025. She was released on bail last year, and today the court made a further postponement on the matter for more investigations to be conducted. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And British luxury car firm Aston Martin will be axing 20% off its workforce. Last month, the struggling car maker blamed US President Donald Trump's tariffs for its losses, which jumped 52% last year. Aston Martin, which employs about 3,000 people, says its latest cost-cutting program will see 600 people being let go. The car firm announced last week that it would be selling the naming rights to the Aston Martin Formula One team for £50 million. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated afternoon showers expected. Lows of between 14 and 17 degrees and highs of between 27 and 28.
You can still expect about an hour delay. This is in Centurion on the N14 northbound from the N1 Old Joburg Road all the way to Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. Midrand also expects some delays. N1 northbound from the Butler interchange to New Road. Bryanston bumper-to-bumper traffic on Main Road between Winnie Mandela Drive and Witkoppen.
The top story in EWN: in a bid to support army deployment in gang-riddled provinces, Treasury has proposed increasing the budget for peace and security by 21 billion rand over the next 3 years.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
Now, I want to find out from all of you, at your place of work, are there certain contributions that are expected of you that you think just do not make sense? Sbongile, so tell me what you think is fair or unfair.
For me, what's fair is for funerals. But also, like we have it here at work, but we only contribute when it's your parents, when it's your mom and it's your dad. What I will never stand for, baby shower. I will never.
You know what, Sbongile? You can contribute with advice.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Mabota.
Let's walk the talk.
You could show your bank balance some love this month with awesome car insurance savings from Outsurance, like 43-year-old Gloria, who saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS the word OUT to 45142. That's OUT to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Solve exciting riddles and unravel a web of suspense and adventure with Hollywood Bets and Spinner Zonke Mystery Parcel. You stand a chance to win a share of 1 million Rand in cash and bonus bets. Start your quest and bet 2 Rand or more on selected Playtech slots every Wednesday between 2:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. and Sunday from 4:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. What scintillating secret will your parcel reveal? Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Meet Tato Magate, CMO of Koitech, proving that South African tech can take on the world. Tato, why was Telkom Business the right call for your team?
Bottom line was connectivity and ensuring that we have the right service provider.
With Telkom Business Fiber, Koitech seamlessly connects local innovations with international manufacturing.
Get Stream Connect Fiber from just 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telcom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Whether you love watching great films or dream of making them, or both, The Johannesburg Film Festival, in partnership with MultiChoice Group, a Canal Plus company, from the 3rd to the 8th of March, has something for you. Experience powerful local and international cinema on the big screen and tap into the JBX Talks, where the people shaping film unpack the craft, the business, and the future of storytelling. It's more than a festival, it's a front row seat to the film world. Book your tickets now at joburgfilmfestival.co.za.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John and the listeners. Anonymous speaking. The job that I drifted into unintentionally was teaching, and it still is teaching. The job is simply not what it was anymore. There's a lot of paperwork. We are drowning in paperwork. We are being sabotaged. There's oppression, micromanagement, no joy at all, with ill-disciplined children, ill-disciplined colleagues and teachers, and the burden of paperwork. We are drowning in paperwork, regulation after regulation after regulation. The Bella Act, this and that and that and that. Many changes in a short period of time. Administrative burden, HR issues. It's really simply not what I signed for. Thank you.
Hey, John. Not all of us had a plan. Some of us just had to go with the flow of life. So I'm one of those. Just went with the flow of life and finished matric. No plan of university. Parents couldn't send me through to college or university. But I just went with the flow of life. Whichever job I got, I took it. Started admin, went into banking, and I ended up studying through companies. And I ended up scoring a top job later on now. So I just went with the flow of it and carried on working. And I guess I stay in the job because it pays the bills and jobs are so scarce in South Africa. So you might just leave your job today and sit for another 2 or 3 years with qualifications, unemployed. So even though sometimes it might not be the best job, but you just stay in it.
Thank you. I'm really appreciating and enjoying your stories about how you've found yourself doing the work that you do. I didn't set out to be a journalist at the beginning of my career. I thought of myself more as an academic and a researcher and doing that kind of thing. And then I just realized I didn't have the chops for doing PhDs and long documents and so on, and made my way through print, then into radio, and found myself here. Happily so, for me at least. 702 Drive, it is 17 minutes now to 5. Let's get a sports update.
EWN Sport.
Proteas men in action tomorrow. Proteas women in action right now. Tola Kele has both stories.
Thanks so much, John. And we start in Centurion, where South African women have moved to 220 for 4. That's in their second ODI against Pakistan in the 38th over. At the crease is Sinalo Jafta on nought alongside Anurick Dixon on 48. At the T20 World Cup, the men will look to edge closer to a semi-final place when they take on the West Indies in the Super 8s tomorrow. Both teams were clinical in their respective wins over India and Zimbabwe, while Keshav Maharaj has discussed the Proteas' quest to go one better than in 2023. That's when they finished as runner-up.
I think it speaks to the character within the lineup and within our team and squad, and it's a huge thing for us. In previous World Cups, we never crossed over those small moments, so we take the small victories and we keep building. If the character is strong and winning those small moments, it propels us to go further on in this tournament.
In live action from the World Cup, New Zealand are reeling on 88 for the loss of 6. That's after 14 overs of their clash against Sri Lanka. Currently at the crease is Makonchi on 2 alongside Satna on 2. Over to the Bedway Premiership, where Stellenbosch's quest to avoid the drop has received a boost after they came from a goal down to beat Kaizer Chiefs 2-1. The victory moved them up 3 places to 11th in the standings, and with Stellies also out of the Nedbank Cup and CAF Confed Cup, Gavin Hunt believes they can now fully focus on remaining in the top flight.
We didn't do badly, actually. We actually did quite well. We never scored a goal, but we did okay. But it gave me a chance to look at everybody because I didn't really know most of the squad. I know them, but I mean, you don't really know them, what they're all about, what they can do. So we used the 4 games. I did, certainly, but that was with the knowledge of the. Obviously, you want to do well. I mean, we were 1 victory away from being the next round, but I certainly would have been a hindrance for us with our squad. Definitely now.
And Serie A is on the brink of an unwanted record in the UEFA Champions League as Italian clubs face the prospect of none of them competing in the last 16. Inter Milan were knocked out last night at the hands of Bodo Glimt as they were eliminated by a team from outside Europe's top 5 leagues for the very first time. Coming into tonight's playoffs, Juventus trailed Galatasaray 5-2, while Atalanta are 2-0 down against Borussia Dortmund. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get back out onto the roads. Let's get to the very latest news. Karabochali Centurion, we had difficulties, still not so good, eh?
Yeah, you can still expect about an hour delay traveling into the Pretoria CBD. That's in Centurion, N14 northbound from the N1 Samrand off-ramp all the way to Jean Avenue due to roadworks. Irene, traffic also gridlocked approaching the intersection of Nelmay Pierce and Main Road. While in Midrand, heading towards Centurion, expect some delays. N1 northbound from the Between Interchange to New Road, Bryanston, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Main Road. This is between Winnie Mandela Drive and Witkoppen. While in Sandton, there's still slow-moving traffic heading towards the M1 on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine Street. Sandton still traveling towards Midrand, traffic pressure M1 north from Ethel Oaklands to the Between Interchange, while in Ekurhuleni, Boksburg, traffic heavily backed up on the N17 eastbound between Rondebold and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. Tembisa traveling towards Irene, slow-moving traffic on the R21 northbound. This is approaching Olifantsfontein Road. Driving through Alex, heading towards Germiston, expect about a 20-minute delay. N3 southbound between the Between Interchange and Van Buren. And finally, in Protea Glen, Soweto, traffic is crawling on the N12 westbound from the R554 Abu Bakr Drive all the way to the R558. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
For many consumers, the budget speech isn't just about the numbers. They're hoping Treasury recognizes the cumulative pressure that households face. Despite the absence of personal income tax increases over the past 2 years, Standard Bank says consumers have still felt the pinch. This includes reduced purchasing power from bracket creep after personal income tax brackets were not adjusted for inflation in 2024 and 2025. Head of Economic and Behavioral Analytics at Standard Bank, Emile Duplessis, says if today's budget makes no inflation adjustments, households may need to reassess their spending and trim costs.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries. World-class team of 1,111 with one mission: awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
When the brightest brains collide in the biggest general knowledge quiz in Gauteng, it's time for the Brain of 702.
And it is time to put your brilliance on display in the brain of 702. Prove your mental might for your chance to win a share of 130,000 Rand in cash. And of course, there's the highly coveted title of the brain of 702. You could win 1,500 Rand in this round and another 1,500 if you win tomorrow on Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. The brain of 702, your brain, our stage. Are you ready to step into the spotlight? The winner of this round gets 1,500 Rand and will be crowned the brain of the day and go on to play again tomorrow and possibly through the rest of the week. And then on Friday afternoon, one person stands to win 10,000 Rand as the weekly brain of 702. Ultimately, that person could go on to win a further 30,000 Rand should they be declared the brain of 702. To be a part of the action, register on primemediaplus.com and we could be calling to put you through our qualifier. As always, two contestants vying to move on and compete again on Bongani's show tomorrow. First of all, welcome to Tsiamo Ndlovu, who today won through on the morning show with 8 points. Tsiamo on the line from Ferndale. Welcome and the best of luck to you.
Thank you, Dada John.
Up against you is Daniel Shavani. Daniel is on the line to us from Velta Vreden Park, playing for the very first time on Brain 2026. Daniel, it's good to have you with us, and the best of luck to you as well.
Thank you very much, John.
Okay, so let me remind you of the rules. You have 60 seconds to answer 15 questions. Whoever gets the most answers correct is the winner. If scores are equal, we will play sudden death, and it is as bad as it sounds. Gets pretty tense, I must say, when we get to sudden death. Please remember, if I ask you to spell a word, do spell the word. You don't save any time by not spelling it. So the rules are straightforward, and the time is now. And first of all, for you, Tsiamo Ndlovu, your time starts now.
3, 2, 1.
Spell the word factoid.
Factoid.
Correct. In which movie did the main character say, "I'm king of the world"?
Pass.
Titanic, a former South African Minister of Finance, was Praveen who?
Gordhan.
Correct. True or false, hog is another name for a pig?
True.
Correct. Which word means reprimand? Admonish or revere?
Admonish.
Correct. What superhero group has Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America as members?
Justice League.
Avengers. What food has a variety called Bartlett? Pear or pineapple?
Pineapple.
Pear. In which southern African country is the Hwangi National Park?
Pass.
Zimbabwe. In soccer, which PSL team from Limpopo is nicknamed Rise and Shine?
Lidodadova. Shucks. Pass.
Okay, you got 9 questions. The answer, by the way, to the last one was Polokwane City. No way to ask you a 10th question. So, Tsiamo, not up to your standards of this morning, but you put 4 points on the board. So, Daniel Shavani is going to have to do better than that if he's going to go through to the next round. And Daniel, you know what you've got to do? Your time starts now.
3, 2, 1.
Spell the word supreme.
Supreme.
Correct. In which movie did the main character say, "Life is like a box of chocolates"?
Pass.
Forrest Gump, a former South African Minister of Finance, was Trevor who?
Manuel.
Correct. True or false, jackass is another name for a donkey?
True.
Correct. Which word means cancel officially? Repeal or enact?
Repeal.
Correct. What superhero group has Magneto, Storm, and Cyclops as members?
Pass.
X-Men. What food has a variety called clementine? Melon or orange?
Melon.
Orange. In which Southern African country is the city Francistown?
Botswana.
Correct. In soccer, which PSL team from Mpumalanga is nicknamed the Rockets?
Cheers, Galaxy.
Correct. Of which continent is Vancouver Island a part?
Asia.
North America. Okay, so just looking at my colleagues, and they're all raising fingers. And the good news for you, Daniel, is they needed 2 hands to get all those fingers up because you scored 6. And that means congratulations, Daniel Shavani. You are our reigning brain and the brain of the day. Tsiamo and Ndlovu did really well this morning. Struggled a little bit this afternoon, but thank you, Tsiamo, for playing, and at least you go away from this Wednesday with 1 win. But back to you, Daniel. As I said, you are our reigning brain. You are the brain of the day. You've won 1,500 Rand so far, thanks to 702. And you know what? Bright and early, you'll play again with Bongani Bingwa tomorrow. If you're still standing after that round, well, you and I will be chatting again because you will be vying for the title of Brain of the Day at the end of the day, and you will, from there, hope to continue the battle for brilliance. So, what about you? For a chance to prove your mental might and to win your share of 130,000 Rand, visit primemediaplus.com to register. And you could become the brain of 702 and walk away with what is undeniably the ultimate general knowledge prize. It's 4 minutes to 5.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Some of you still telling us about your work life, the job you thought you might do, the job you ended up doing, and whether you stuck with it because you were stuck with it or because you actually found that you really liked it. But the other thing we're having a conversation about, and I'm quite exercised with this because the fact of what's happened to the Joburg Metro Centre and its complete abandonment, both the waste of resources, the money spent on renting alternative premises from commercial suppliers when the city actually has a whole lot of other properties that arguably could be used. Those are things that I think are important, and we need a very fresh look at a problem that's been going on for nearly 3 years. Ali has this to say and says, "Hi John, the Joburg Metro Centre could quite clearly have been saved. Leading up to 2016, all the way from 1976, I used to visit the centre for plan submissions, etc. The structural stability is not in danger," Ali says. "The building was neglected from a maintenance perspective." Now, our conversation about this began at 10 to 4 when we chatted to Ferrell Haffaji, Associate Editor at Daily Maverick. She, together with her colleague Anna Cox, have been doing a very, very deep dive indeed into what's going on at the centre. And one of the problems is, of course, unlike Ali, who used to visit regularly for plan submissions and presumably to draw on other plans that are out there, that's no longer possible. The digitizing of the plans, Ferrell was saying, was promised 250 days ago. And nothing appears to have been done in that regard. Now, I was saying a little bit earlier that I think there should be an inquiry into this. I'm not talking about a Madlanga Commission scale of inquiry with all the details there, but surely, and maybe you need a couple of people. You need a structural engineer who will come and assess the state of the building. You need a team to assess the reports into the structural viability of the building that were done and used as a justification for moving out. There needs to be, and there probably is, but I haven't seen it or heard about it. If it exists and I've missed it, please set me right. There must have been a fire report on the 2 fires that prompted the evacuation. What caused them? Was there arson involved? And secondly, how much damage was done? Fire reports, by the way, notoriously take a long, long time to see the light of day. Just think of the Charlotte Matlake Hospital and further back, the Bank of Lisbon fire report. Boy, did those have to be dragged kicking and screaming into daylight. But with all of those, and then an evaluation of the cost benefit of, on the one hand, fixing what you have, or on the other hand, paying rental to private entities over what appear to be very, very long periods, judging by what I've read about the leases. And then once you've used that to establish the facts, and if the facts show that this was the only choice, I will be more than happy to say, you know what, fair play, I was wrong, got it wrong. But it seems to me there's a lot more digging that needs to be done. Who's going to do it? I hope somebody, I hope they do it soon. The city is not blessed with vast amounts of money. And if we can redirect some of the money being spent on unnecessary leases to be used to fix extremely necessary water infrastructure, I think we'll all agree that would be a day's work well done. It's 5 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Treasury decides to increase the fuel levy again, but South Africans dodge another tax increase bullet. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Motorists will have to dig a little deeper into their pockets to keep their cars on the road following government's decision to raise the fuel levy. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced during his budget speech today that the fuel levy will increase by 9 cents a litre for petrol and 8 cents a litre for diesel. The fuel levy, which helps to fund the Road Accident Fund, was also raised last year after being frozen for 2 previous financial years. Godongwana explained that the adjustments to the fuel levy are in line with inflation.
The general fuel levy will go up by 9 cents per litre for petrol and 8 cents per litre for diesel. The carbon fuel levy will go up by 5 cents per litre for petrol and 6 cents for diesel. The Road Accident Fund fuel levy will increase by 7 cents per litre.
At the same time, Minister Godongwana has backtracked on his 2025 threat to increase taxes by 20 billion rand thanks to the taxman. After failed attempts to increase the value-added tax rate last year, Godongwana warned that if revenue fell short this year, his hand would be forced to raise taxes. But the Revenue Service has made good on its promise to increase collections, with revenue up 21.3 billion rand more than was estimated a year ago. Godongwana announced the tax relief when he tabled the 2026 budget this afternoon. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
In the current year, most fiscal metrics, including revenue, deficit and debt service costs, are better than projections made in the medium-term budget policy statement in November. Minister Enoch Godongwana has walked back warnings of tax increases in 2026 with improved revenue collection, owing to stronger economic growth and commodity price increases.
The improved fiscal position allows us enough room to withdraw the proposed tax increases without putting fiscal sustainability or economic activity at risk.
After 2 years of no inflationary relief, personal income tax brackets and medical tax credits have been adjusted.
We are also proposing additional tax measures to ease financial burden on households and businesses by adjusting personal income tax brackets.
The minimum tax-paying threshold has now been raised to 245,100 rand per year, while medical tax credits will increase from 364 rand to 376 rand for the first 2 members. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
A Northern Cape mine where 5 workers remain trapped underground has announced it will be closing down. Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources says it has applied for liquidation, citing a global market downturn coupled with the recent events. Despite the imminent closure, Ekapa says it will continue the search for 5 of its workers who were trapped in one of the shafts after it was hit by a mudslide last week. The company says the workers are now presumed dead, but it's working on recovery operations. Alfara Mushwana reports.
In a statement released this afternoon, Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources says the diamond industry has experienced unprecedented pressures over the past 18 months. This includes reduced global demand, the rise of low-cost synthetic diamonds and tariffs. Ekapa says it had a plan this year to shift towards the mining of higher-grade kimberlite rocks, particularly at its Tutoy-Span shaft. However, the shaft has now been closed indefinitely due to last Tuesday's incident, where it was hit with a large mudslide, trapping 5 miners under 890 meters of water, rocks and sand. Ekapa says restoring access to the shaft would take between 10 to 18 months and requires a significant investment which it cannot secure under the current financial conditions. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
The city of Johannesburg has announced that it will be creating demarcated trading areas for informal traders in the inner city. This was revealed today at a meeting between the traders and officials from the Department of Economic Development, the Johannesburg Roads Agency, as well as JMPD. The meeting comes after traders staged a march in Braamfontein last week to highlight some of the concerns they have with operating within the CBD. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The informal traders say there aren't enough clearly demarcated spaces for them to operate from. This, they say, has resulted in them setting up in areas where they are constantly being removed by JMPD officers, who they alleged have been removing them by force. City officials have made it clear that the traders cannot be allowed to operate in areas where they are obstructing traffic or areas that pose a danger to them. They've also condemned the allegations of violence by JMPD members, saying while it is important to enforce bylaws, they should not do it with force. As a solution, they have agreed to draft a plan with demarcated trading spaces, which will soon submit it to council for passing. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Braamfontein.
And the European Union has imposed tighter border controls on imports of a baby milk ingredient from China. Recalls worldwide of infant formula produced by food companies like Nestle, Danone and others have sent alarm bells ringing. The ingredient, cerealite, was singled out as a source of a major contamination scare. The contamination was first detected in December in batches of some formula. More than 60 countries are affected, and according to reports, an estimated 100 children in Europe have shown signs and symptoms consistent with the contamination. Gold is trading at $5,168.69 an ounce. The rand is at $15.92 to the dollar, $21.48 to the pound, $18.74 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.77 a barrel.
Centurion, you can still expect about an hour delay heading into the Pretoria CBD. That's on the N14 northbound between the N1 Samrand off-ramp and Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. In Easterist, Mamelodi, traffic heavily backed up on Stormful Road between Jan Kotsia and Petroleum Road.
In your sport, the latest from Centurion is the Proteas women take on Pakistan in their second ODI. Miguel Cardoso slams Mamelodi Sundown supporters for booing his players. And Daniil Medvedev calls for ranking system rethink to ease the burden on players.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated showers in the afternoon. Johannesburg drops to an overnight low of 14 degrees, peaking at 27. Pretoria 17 and 28 and Vereniging 14, also reaching a high of 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, motorists will have to dig a little deeper into their pockets to keep their cars on the roads following government's decision to raise the fuel levy again.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us on the show. Coming up in a moment, we're going to evaluate the budget, not so much from the taxation point of view. We did that earlier with Professor Keith Engel from the South African Institute of Taxation. If you missed that conversation, he had a lot of very interesting points to make, and you can pick that up on our website, primemediaplus.com. Of course, that's where you go for things you might have missed on all the shows throughout the 7:02 day. We're going to be talking, I suppose, at some of the kind of political intentions signaled, both in the numbers, in terms of allocations or in terms of various kinds of tax, but also in the commentary that is part of the budget speech, the intentions expressed by the Minister of Finance as an expression more broadly of what government plans to do in terms of making sure that its spending hits the mark. That's the idea, at least. We'll talk about that with independent analyst Kaya Sitole in a moment. The biggest allocation this year in terms of percentage and gross amount, as it always is, goes to basic education. That comes at a time when the latest study by government, by the Department of Basic Education, shows extraordinarily dismaying levels of ability to actually read for meaning amongst our youngest learners. Dr. Stephen Taylor is involved in that research project at the DBE. He'll join us at 5:20 to share his thoughts on that. And of course, the obvious question, will more money make a difference, or are we not doing something right with the money that's already assigned? 7:02 Drive, it's 5:10. We'll give you a traffic update. Stephen Curtis rejoins us from down in Cape Town, where he's, of course, been attending the budget speech. He'll have plenty on the budget, on the Money Show, and he'll tell us exactly what guests he's bringing in and why. Stephen with us at about 5:25.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good day, Dr. John. You know what? Sometimes you have to take whatever that the world is offering you. I studied project management and software engineering. Then I've been struggling to get a job until I say, you know what? Let me try this industry of e-hailing. Then I was trying it. Then I learned a few things on the market since it's almost 4 years. Until I said that since that 4 years, I say no. You know what? I need to develop my own application. That's when I start developing my own application. Now I know the ins and outs of the application. I even launched my own application. It's online. Hey.
They're in grade 3. What are some of
Good afternoon, John. This is Kabele from Pretoria. From a young age, I always wanted to be a medical doctor, to be in medicine. Thanks to Dr. Cliff Huxtable of the Cosby Show. But now, I didn't do medicine because my late mom felt it takes too long. So I ended up in optometry. So I guess I didn't fall so far away. And the business part thereof has been better than if I was in medicine.
Good afternoon, John and 72 listeners. I hope you're doing well. John, I'm currently a network engineer. In my first preference, I was studying to become a scientist, so that in my early ages, I wanted to actually study computer science and actually even end up in going to space. But however, the finance was a hindrance for me to make it there. But however, I'm currently a network engineer. Happy. Boxback.
Thanks so much. And the question we asked earlier, the job you do, is it what you set out to do? If it is, did it turn out the way you expected? Or if you found yourself doing something completely different, was that because needs must and you needed to get yourself settled down into the world of work? We aren't only just the work we do, and other needs need to be met. And did you end up liking it more than you expected? Keep those coming on 011 883 0702. Many of you are making very interesting contributions around the conversation we've been having about the Joburg Metro Centre and the way in which that building has been abandoned to rack and ruin. And this contribution is a very, very long one. Unfortunately, I can't read all of it, but I'm going to try and pick out what I believe are highlights. This listener says that building could have been saved had it been properly maintained. For example, when they started noticing water ingression in the basements, hydrological engineers needed to be called to site to understand the root cause of this problem and how it could be addressed. And then structural engineers, this listener says, needed to come and follow and look at the potential effects on structural integrity. Then he goes on and gives us a lot of vital detail. I wish I could share it, but time doesn't assist me in this. It says, could it have been saved? The answer is yes. Can it be saved? Depends on a variety of factors informed by various sciences, and he details those. But this is the interesting part that I really want to share with you. My specialist opinion is that this could have been deliberate and planned over the years. It's a common act with most property owners: demolition by dereliction. You let property decay, reduce costs of compliance, you demolish and rebuild at low cost. If it is to be rebuilt, trust me, the costs will not be low, but it's a fascinating insight. Demolition by dereliction. Anyone else want to add to that? 702 Drive, it's 14 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Charlie with the very latest traffic news. Centurion doesn't get much better, it would seem.
Yeah, I'm afraid you can still expect about an hour delay heading into the Pretoria CBD. That's in Centurion. N14 northbound from the N1 Samrand off-ramp all the way to Jean Avenue due to roadworks. East the rest, Mamelodi, there's also traffic pressure on Sturmful Road between Jan Kutsia and Petroleum Road, while in Boksburg you can expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Brakpan. That's N17 eastbound between Ronnebold and Carnival City due to roadworks. Tembisa, traffic sluggish, that's traveling towards Irene. R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road and driving through Alex, expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Germiston. N3 southbound between the Patloo Interchange and Van Buren. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
February is all about love, but your child's coach won't be feeling the love if you're late for the game. Fortunately, the Outsurance pointsmen are here to ease the traffic congestion so you can get to the school on time. With the Outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag pointsmenlove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's get into the budget then and focus in particular about the fiscal and financial, of course, but also a signaling of political intentions is always very, very clear in the budget speech. Things we will continue to tolerate and support, some might say aid and abet. And then there are some things where the minister, obviously expressing not just the view of Treasury, but government as a whole, is saying, we're not going to put up with this for much longer. Now, for example, it was made clear by the minister that they don't believe they're getting value for money from the skills levy, and they don't think seaters are actually delivering as they should. And he kind of says, watch that space because we are reevaluating all these things. To look at these kinds of signals, we're joined now by Kai Sithole, independent analyst who himself was down in Cape Town for the budget, and I'm sure has picked up some interesting conversation in the corridors and margins. Kai Sithole, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. One of the things that the Minister of Finance is saying that they're absolutely not going to put up with any longer is the way metros going about their business, in particular with regard to things like water. And he says revenue collected for a specified function must first sustain that function before any cross-subsidization can occur. And to illustrate it, if you're wondering what the words mean for the listeners, Joburg's water revenue, he says, is 11.9 billion, but only 1.3 billion is allocated to Joburg Water for capital expenditure, i.e. fixing and building things. So, Kaya, I suppose my first question, is that something that government has said before and simply not got around to doing, or does the rubber hit the road with this comment from the minister?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners. Actually, it's a departure from Treasury's utterances of yesteryear. So Treasury has got a position against ring-fencing amounts. And the simple reason that they try to avoid ring-fencing amounts is that if you have said that this particular service will only be funded by this particular levy that is earmarked only for that purpose, if that purpose is insufficient to meet that commitment, then somebody has to step in and top up anyway. The classic example of that is the Road Accident Fund and its reliance on the fuel levy, because that levy is meant to be earmarked to fund the operations of the Road Accident Fund, and it has never been enough, and it will not be enough. So then the question of if somebody had to say the Road Accident Fund must meet all its commitments overnight, it simply just doesn't work. That ring fencing doesn't work in relation to that. On the other hand, what you also know is that if there are specific activities that need to be maintained on a different maintenance schedule, you want to make sure that the resources collected or generated rather by those resources can indeed at least service that. So the minister's example was that, look, we do know that Joburg Water is a discrete entity, for example, so therefore the resources collected from the delivery of water should primarily be servicing water needs. But what they do is that they tend to go into a much bigger pot where they get swallowed by other commitments and other priorities. And by the time somebody says we need to do maintenance here, the others that actually we don't have enough money because it got swallowed up by the bigger pot. So it has complexities either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, quite a bit of tough talk around municipalities and then something of an anomaly, which I'll speak to in a moment. But they also say the municipal infrastructure grant reform, that will be changed. They want to address what the minister describes as persistent underspending, misuse of funds and capacity constraints. So the new rule will be municipalities with proven capacity will continue to receive funding directly. That's a direct quote. But where there are capacity or governance failures, the delivery will shift to an indirect model, i.e. someone else will come in and do the delivery, I assume. We've had tough talk on municipalities before. Kaya Sithole, between the intentions expressed in the budget speech and the realities of government capacity and habits in South Africa, do you expect much to change as a result of this?
Well, unfortunately not. So the first problem is the question of political autonomy. So naturally, we've got national government, we've got provincial government, we've got local government. And the view that a lot of politicians hold is that, look, if we are responsible for running the affairs of this structure of government, then once a budget has been allocated, we've got the discretion on how to spend it. So what these grants tend to do is that they try to avoid that minefield by saying this grant is only for this particular purpose. But the problem that we have is that there is a serious skills deficit, particularly on the technical skills at those particular levels of government. So even if the grant, as well intended as it might be, does cascade down there, you then find that there simply isn't the capacity to be able to make sure that that grant actually fulfills its purpose. So this process of then saying that those that haven't been able to execute must now be subjected to a different approach maybe doesn't capture the essence of why they haven't been able to execute. There will be those that can't execute because they simply aren't interested. And then there'll be those that haven't been able to execute simply because there isn't anyone who works anywhere close to that municipality that can actually utilize that technical grant in order to undertake those particular technical services. So it has to be a very clear process of trying to understand exactly why each of those particular municipalities are not being able to use the grants appropriately, and whether it is simply a question of a skills gap, and if the skills gap is to be addressed, maybe you can maintain that model. But if you depart from that, you might find questions being raised at the political level about whether the autonomy that local government structures believe they have is now being taken away from them.
Thanks so much, Kaya Sithole. We dwelt on a very particular set of political signals in the budget speech around municipalities and metros, but it seemed to me appropriate given what's been happening over the last while. We thank Kaya for his time. And the anomaly I was just going to refer to, but perhaps we'll discuss it another day, is despite saying all these tough things about municipalities, if they can't run things properly, they're not going to get the money in the future. Out of the infrastructure budget, 205.7 billion rand will still be going to municipalities. So I suppose you might say, you go figure. 702 Drive, it's 23 minutes now past 5 o'clock.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Right, let's turn to this then. In the budget, once again, we see a very handsome allocation to basic education. According to the minister, 23.7% of consolidated expenditure is devoted to our schools and early learning centres, I guess, at a level below that. This comes at a time when the Department of Basic Education's reading panel, it's called the 2030 Reading Panel, has put out figures that really do raise, once again, the alarm bells about the levels of foundational literacy for young people. And I'll just read one stat. There are many others. Findings reveal only 30% of pupils in grades 1 to 3 are reading at grade level in their home languages. And for some learners in some languages. Up to 25% of these pupils cannot read a single word, which really does raise many, many questions. We keep increasing the amount of money spent on education. Do we actually get value for money out of the money spent? And I don't mean do we as the people, taxpayers, paying the money. I mean as a country, are we investing effectively in children in this way as effectively as we should? Dr. Stephen Taylor is Director for Research, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Department of Basic Education and involved in the study. Dr. Taylor, very good afternoon to you. Would it be fair to say this shows us that money can't solve everything, and if it can't, what should we be doing that we're not doing right now? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and also to your listeners. Yeah, the latest set of results around reading are obviously concerning, though it's not a new finding. In one sense, we always knew that we did have a significant reading challenge. Both local and international assessments have been showing us for a number of years now that too many children reach the end of the foundation phase of schooling, so reach about grade 4, without having learnt to adequately read with comprehension. What the latest statistics, which the DBE released, show is the levels of learning in grades 1, 2, and 3 in the foundational reading skills that build towards the outcome of reading with comprehension. So if you think about it, reading with comprehension builds on a lot of underlying reading skills like oral language skills. Learners need to have vocabulary in language, but they also importantly need to understand the system of reading, the ability to associate symbols with sounds, to put those symbols together to form words, and then crucially to become fluent in doing that decoding process so that they can actually devote all of their thinking and attention to the meaning of what they're reading. And so what's new about this study is that it shows how we're doing in grades 1, 2, and 3 in the foundations of learning that are going to build towards the all-important outcome of being able to read with comprehension.
So this is what the numbers are telling us. As you say, it's not new. Other studies have found similar things. Education could always do with more money, but I don't think anyone can turn around and say in the broad proportions of money allocated by the fiscus, education is done down and underfunded. What I come back to that question, Dr. Taylor. What are we doing wrong? And maybe the we is those we's who are in the classroom, i.e. teachers, learners, and administrators, or it's a more broader societal thing. But I think it's fair to say we can't carry on like this.
Well, look, I think it's also important to note that although we have a learning quality challenge, it has been improving. So I think that sometimes gets overlooked. A recent McKinsey report recognized South Africa as one of several sustained and outsized improvers. So we have this kind of combination of low quality, but it is improving. So I think we should continue to invest in those things that are working. But in terms of the actual budget allocated to education, a lot of that obviously goes to paying teacher salaries and to other aspects of making it possible to attend school. And we do have very high access to schooling in South Africa, even by international standards. But perhaps it's more targeted investments that might be needed. I think I agree. We do spend a lot. We clearly value and invest in education in the country. But we need to find sort of targeted interventions on things that improve classroom practice with our existing teachers. So it's not necessarily about paying for more teachers or paying teachers much more. It's more about maybe targeted investments in things like African language reading materials.
Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there, but I think we must have Dr. Stephen Taylor back. We were just linking this study to the budget, but there is definitely a longer conversation to be had. These numbers are of grave concern. Maybe you as a parent or an older sibling of younger learners battling through those first 3-4 years of school. Maybe you've got some insights and observations. Share them, please, on 072 702 1702. 29 minutes past 5. We thank Dr. Stephen Taylor joining us from the Department of Basic Education.
EWN Business.
Well, I mean, you can never have enough Stevens in an afternoon of radio. Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John, especially when they're spelt as well as Stephen Taylor's
That's
is,
right.
if my memory is concerned.
Absolutely,
you know.
PH.
Yeah, you just can't have too many. Obviously, the big story today is the budget, and I must just point out that the Rand is reacting quite nicely. There are other factors at play, as always, but the Rand a bit stronger since the minister started speaking. And the Rand now 15.88 to the dollar. Bear in mind, there was a big speech in the US last night as well, which might well have played a little bit of a factor in dollar weakness too. That was the State of the Union address. Also, of course, the issues in the budget around tax brackets being adjusted for inflation, I think a big thing for many people. A little bit of relief, lots of relief for small businesses. The compulsory registration threshold to be registered for VAT moves from a turnover of 1 million rand a year to 2.3. Inflation-linked increases in sin taxes could have been much worse. We were expecting it to be worse. We'll speak to Edward Kieswetter on the Money Show tonight and ask him if there is a correlation between increases in sin taxes and the rise of the illicit industry. We'll also speak to Duncan Peterser. He's the Director General in the National Treasury, John, of course, as you know, about the tighter controls they're imposing for municipalities. Basically, they say, and the Minister says, if municipalities don't reach particular operational or reform targets, they'll have their budgets reduced. The problem, of course, is that you end up with residents suffering because their councils don't get the money, and those residents are usually suffering enough as it is by then. The JSE All Share up 1.25% on the day, 126,742 points. Financials down 0.98, industrials down 0.14. Much stronger day for resources, up 4.82% on the day. Platinum prices much stronger. Gold doing quite nicely as well. Valterra's up 10%. They reported their headline earnings per share doubled, mainly because of higher platinum prices. They're paying out a dividend of 12 billion rand. Also produced more platinum than was forecast. Other platinum miners doing well too. Northam's up 5%, and then the gold miners. Goldfields are up 5%. Anglo Gold's up 4.63%. A strong day for MTM. They're up nearly 4% on the day as well. The SPAR Group down 10%, John. After everything that happened over the last 3 days, to see them go down again so significantly does point to where investors see them. Motors down 4.36% today. Their profits were up by 20% in the 6 months to the end of December. It says there's been a strong rebound in car sales. New vehicle sales were up by 13% over the period. Remember, though, that during the same period, while they reported such strong profits, they're also in the process of retrenching workers, and just maybe people being reminded of that. Sasol down 4% after their earnings earlier in the week, and Momentum down 2.93%. In the US, things have been turning positive after a difficult couple of days. The Dow Jones is up 0.16, the Nasdaq is up 0.99, the S&P 500 is up 0.45. The gold price, $5,196.45 an ounce. Platinum, $2,314.20. Brent crude, $70.68. The rand to the dollar, 15.88 to the euro. 18.74 to the British pound, 21.49. On the Money Show tonight, the National Treasury Director General, the Commissioner at SARS, Edward Kieswetter, will speak to Mialani Kholeni about the issue with more controls for municipalities, and then also looking forward to your shapeshifter tonight, Peter Armitage, the CEO at Anchor Capital. So much to ask him about markets at the moment. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 27 minutes to 6, a little later than we should. The news headlines. Here's Bali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. While bailouts for state-owned enterprises are a thing of the past, key entities like logistics giant Transnet still remain fragile, according to Treasury. National Treasury says Transnet's fiscal position remains a major challenge with rising debt levels and insufficient cash. But the Finance Department has noted how fellow SOE Eskom has returned to profitability after nearly a decade of sustained losses. Babalondenze has more.
National Treasury says Transnet remains unprofitable, although it has narrowed its net loss from 7.3 billion in 2023-2024 to 1.9 billion in 2025. It says the entity's focus in the last 18 months to March last year was to implement its recovery plan. Tabling the budget, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the Budget Facility for Infrastructure, or BFI, will now benefit the likes of Transnet as it continues to play a pivotal role in enabling funding of strategic infrastructure projects.
The
budget facility for infrastructure has approved 21.9 billion for 5 major projects. These include Transnet's coal and iron ore corridor projects, which will restore rail capacity to 7 million tons for coal line and 60 million tons for the iron ore line.
Godongwana says over the medium term, public sector spending on infrastructure will exceed 1 trillion rand, of which 577 billion rand will be spent by state-owned companies and other public entities. Babalo Ndanze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry have been left frustrated after a witness failed to appear and submitted a sick note they described as difficult to read. The commission did not hold any hearings today after a scheduled witness fell ill. The witness, who cannot be named at this stage, is a criminal intelligence officer responsible for managing agents and informants within the SAPS. Thabiso Koba reports.
The sick note submitted by today's witness says they are unfit to work from the 21st of February to today. However, what frustrated the evidence leaders and commissioners was the note did not specify the witness's nature of illness and or injury. Senior evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson says he's concerned over the repeated cases of witnesses falling ill when they have to appear before the commission.
Our concern with this postponement application is that the medical certificate is so, well, one, illegible and two, sparse. And what we would ask is that we stand the matter down for a day and that Mr. Matlala and his client produce a clearer and better motivated medical certificate that will warrant a postponement.
Lawyers for the witness have committed to obtaining an affidavit from their client which will explain their illness or injury. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And police in KwaZulu-Natal have uncovered a marijuana lab which allegedly sells drugs to learners in the Lamontville area south of Durban. Officers raided the premises opposite a high school this morning following what they say was suspicious activity. KZN police spokesperson Paul Magwaza explains.
Upon further investigations, police discovered that the occupants of the house were allegedly selling dagga to the learners. Further investigations into the house led to the discovery of a fully operational dagga cultivation laboratory.
Magwaza added that 2 suspects were arrested during the operation.
The arrested suspects were charged for dagga cultivation as well as dealing in dagga. They will appear at the Durban Magistrates Court on Thursday, 26 February 2026.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated afternoon showers expected. Lows of between 14 and 17 degrees and highs of between 27 and 28.
Centurion, you can still expect a more than an hour delay heading into the Pretoria CBD. That's the N14 northbound from the N1 Samarand off-ramp all the way to Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. Still in Centurion, traffic heavily backed up on Raimte Road between Fuetreka and Willem Botha, and in Montana, roadworks slowing down traffic on the N1 northbound from Stormville to the N4.
The top story in EWN: while bailouts for state-owned enterprises are a thing of the past, key entities like logistics giant Transnet still remain fragile, according to National Treasury.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Tourette syndrome. You probably heard about what happened at the BAFTA Awards. A guy by the name of John Davidson screamed out the N-word while 2 black artists were delivering an award, and he's very sorry. Heather says Tourette's is uncontrolled expletives. There's not just a racial outburst. The question I'm asking is it a revelation of what somebody truly feels about people? Why doesn't the Tourette syndrome tick become a positive tick?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
For over a decade, Aluma Capital has had one simple mission: to help you secure the financial future you deserve. Over the past 10 years, they've empowered thousands of clients with personalized strategies, expert advice, and impressive returns of up to 13.2%. Whether it's growing wealth, securing retirement, or planning for the unexpected, Aluma Capital is there every step of the way. Visit aluma.co.za today. Aluma Capital is a licensed FSP. T's and C's apply.
This is financial year end. This is financial year end supercharged with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting software. So supercharge your business with the help of Zero and blast past financial year-end stress. Try Zero free for 30 days. Terms apply. Search Zero with an X.
Buy any Hills pet food and you could win one of 10 holidays worth 200,000 Rand each. Or take the bucks. Scientifically proven formulas for your pet. An adventure for you. Hills Pet Nutrition. Science does more. T's and C's apply.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million Rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 Rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Whether you love watching great films or dream of making them, the Joburg Film Festival, in partnership with MultiChoice Group, a Canal Plus company, from the 3rd to the 8th of March, has something for you. Experience powerful local and international cinema on the big screen and tap into the JBX Talks, where the people shaping film unpack the craft, the business, and the future of storytelling. It's more than a festival, it's a front row seat to the film world. Book your tickets now at joburgfilmfestival.co.za.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
John, we don't have the culture of reading anymore. We don't have a lot of good cultures remaining, John. We don't. Grade ones are carrying phones nowadays. Yeah, phones. So their minds are twisted and distracted already, John. These kids didn't grow up with the book. God save us.
Hi, John. Well, I wanted to be a vet, and I ended up in marketing. I didn't get a chance to go to university. So from marketing at this point, I am now an SPCA inspector, and I've been there for 5 years. Go figure, hey? Yeah, at least I've kept the animal love. Shivers in Boksburg.
Yeah, thanks. I've really enjoyed that conversation throughout the day, and thanks for all your contributions. Jobs you thought you'd find yourself doing, jobs you ended up doing, and all the things in between. Thank you for those, as I said. Let's get the latest sport.
EWN Sport.
With Tolakele Mganga. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. And we start in Centurion, where South Africa posted 361 for 8 against Pakistan women. That's in their second ODI, as Anari Dirksen top scored with 90 and Tasman Brits added 77. The visitors are yet to get their response underway. At the T20 World Cup, Mitchell Satner top scored with 47 as New Zealand posted 168 for 7 against Sri Lanka. Tsakana and Kamra both took 3 wickets each. In response, the co-hosts are currently at the crease on 9 for the loss of 2. That's in the third over. They need 160 runs and 103 balls for victory. Batting is Mendes on 1 alongside Ratchankanya on 3. Meanwhile, the Proteas will return to action tomorrow against the West Indies, and Keshav Maharaj has denied that his side will have an advantage. That's in the Ahmedabad showdown, having played 4 of their 5 matches at the venue. Both sides come into the clash off the back of 5 straight wins in the tournament, and the winner will put themselves in pole position for a semi-final berth.
Sure. At this stage in the tournament, it's a huge game for us because we know if we get over the line, or hopefully we do get over the line, it gives us that qualification into the semi-finals. Like I said, West Indies have a way of turning up in these events, and we know the danger they possess from an explosive point of view, and they've got some batters in form and some bowlers that are finding rhythm. So making sure that we're quite clear in what we're trying to do and focusing solely on our execution.
Miguel Cardoso has dismissed talk of player favoritism at Mamelodi Sundowns as he called on supporters to respect his players. Marcelo Alendego handed the Brazilians a 1-0 win over Amazulu in the Betway Premiership last night as they moved joint top of the standings with the Orlando Pirates. But the game was overshadowed by the jeering of players while they were warming up.
I think the Masandawana family needs to keep together every time. These players work a lot. They don't deserve to enter a pitch to make a warm-up in a match like this and being booed or being asked to be substituted. The coach of Sundowns doesn't have any son in the team. The coach of Sundowns relates with the strategies and the moments and the players available and gives energy to everybody in the same way.
And Daniil Medvedev has called for a streamlined ATP calendar with only Grand Slams and Masters 1000 tournaments offering ranking points. That's to ease the burden on players. Top players are obligated to compete in 4 majors and 8 Masters events, with the world rankings breakdown reduced from 19 to 18 tournaments in 2026. But Medvedev says if smaller events didn't count towards the rankings, it would ease the pressure on players who've criticized the 11-month calendar. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Pretoria, the delays are building up there as well. Centurion, the problem earlier. What's happening in the capital?
Yeah, I've got a few issues in the city of Tshwane at this hour. Let me start in Centurion, where you can expect about an hour's delay. This is on the N14 northbound. From the N1 Samrand. This is from the N1 Samrand off-ramp all the way to Jean Avenue due to ongoing roadworks. In Centurion, traffic heavily backed up on Raimte Road. This is between Voortrekker and Williepoorter. In Montana, still in Pretoria, roadworks causing heavy delays on the N1 northbound. From Sturmville Road to the N4 Irene, expect about a 20-minute delay. This is approaching the intersection of Nalmepius Drive and Main Road. In Ekurhuleni, Boksburg, you can expect about a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound. This is between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. Tembisa. Also, traffic a bit sluggish, R21 northbound, approaching Olifantsfontein Road. And finally, if you're driving through Alex, heading towards Germiston, expect about a 20-minute delay, N3 south from the Batoon Interchange to Van Buren. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. So, busy day. Lots to focus on and try and understand after the delivery of the budget speech by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. So, I think we could all use some music. We were having a little chat and to some degree a little bit of a debate earlier about great women singers in South Africa. And somebody used the word divas. I wasn't entirely sure. I knew exactly what diva actually meant. But we decided to ask you the question in a broader way. And the question is simply this. Who would you say is the very best South African vocalist? And I guess we could include people who are no longer with us, but their music still lives on. So cast your mind as wide as you absolutely would like. The greatest, the very best South African female vocalist. And to get us going, we've got Karabo Malapile, our technical producer, who's got her pick. Who have you picked? What's the song?
Hi, John, and good afternoon to our 702 listeners. I picked Malé.
Mm-hmm.
She's not one of those popular vocalists, but I think she's one of the greatest, you know. She hasn't been singing for too long, so I will put her under the category of rising stars.
Okay.
But she's really good. She's really one of the best that we have in this country.
How difficult was it to pick a song, and which one did you choose?
I chose her new song from her new album called Ditapelo. So I don't think it was much difficult because she doesn't have a long catalog, but I think she's really great.
Okay, so here we have getting us going, and while you're listening to Male, and this one is called Ditapelo, think about who you would put forward as our very, very best female vocalist. Enjoy this. Malehluka Hlalele, better known as Male, alongside Mzizi. The song is called Ditapelo, getting us going on this journey to find the very best of our female vocalists. Send us yours.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
For many consumers, the budget speech isn't just about the numbers. They're hoping Treasury recognizes the cumulative pressure that households face. Despite the absence of personal income tax increases over the past 2 years, Standard Bank says consumers have still felt the pinch. This includes reduced purchasing power from bracket creep after personal income tax brackets were not adjusted for inflation in 2024 and 2025. Head of Economic and Behavioral Analytics at Standard Bank, Emile Duplessis, says if today's budget makes no inflation adjustments, households may need to reassess their spending and trim costs.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
702 Landers, we have got a special treat for you. Relebogile Mabotja is launching her second EP album called Still Me Live, and we're inviting you to join us. It's happening this Thursday, 26 February at 4:30 p.m. at Prime Media Place. We're at 15 Fredman Drive in Sandton. If you'd love to secure a seat to this exclusive intimate event with our very own, simply send an email to contact@702.co.za.
I heard she's got a recruiter team working 24/7.
Mm-hmm. That one, she has a secret supply of talent.
I knew it. She's definitely keeping a secret from us.
Nothing mysterious, guys. It's SA Youth, South Africa's largest youth online recruitment platform. Fast to post, effortless to use, and effective every time.
Recruit on the portal to potential. sayouth.co.za, powering South Africa's youth workforce.
New deals for the Checkers extravaganza are here. Save extra on top picks, like Be Well Pure Canola Oil 2 litres for $69.99, save 20 Rand. Jacob's Cappuccino Sticks 10 per pack, any 2 for 110 Rand, save 40 Rand. And Pampers Jumbo Pack or Premium Care Value Pack nappies or pants, buy any 2 and get a third free, save 33%. Valid until 1 March, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stitch is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom Business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Simpiwe Daba. Yeah, the song that captured me to start listening to her music was Ndiredi.
Hi, John. Yo, female vocalist. Oh, wow. There's so many. But for me, it's the late and great Sibongile Khumalo. And the song is Tando's Groove. What a beautiful, beautiful song. Shivers in Boxburg.
Yeah, lovely. Sibongile Khumalo. Long remembered for wonderful music despite her sad passing. That one's from 2001. Matlumucha Maredi says, mine is Judas Sipuma Litsepile Mang. That's from Hlabirwa. Somebody, Spigiri asked, can you send me the artist's name for Ditapelo? That would be Male, Maleh. Innocent, best singer for me is Kelly Khumalo, as we heard earlier from Ralph. So many to choose from. Let's hear a few more picks.
Hi, John. For me, it has to be Dogozo Mbambo. Jehovah is your name. T here.
Hi, Ntete John. It's Margaret here. For me, I'd say the best female vocalist of all times, South Africa, would be PJ Powers. And my favorite song from her is There Will Be an Answer. I think she's not given or was never given or hasn't been given enough recognition. PJ Powers.
PJ Powers, Penelope Jane. That was on her birth certificate. By the way, we had a fabulous, you can Google it, a wonderful songbook dish with PJ Powers. She had just stunning stories to tell. So find that and go back on it. Perry, mine is anything by the late Zahara. Loved her to bits, indeed. And Claire says, I'm not a classical fundi, but didn't we produce a world-class opera singer from Cape Town? I think there were a few, but maybe it's Pretty Yende who is on your mind. I think she joined us on Songbook Dish as well, actually. We spent some really wonderful conversations with some really great singers. Here's a few more.
Hi, John. Mornay here. I think that the best female vocalist is very much based on a person's preference. But to me, I want someone with a range in their voice, so that can hit the high notes clearly and properly and so on. And to me, that would be Corlia Botha. And she does two songs. She does a song called Swart Koffie, which is black coffee. And then she also does a song called Sonvanger. Both of them, she hits bring quite a lot of low and high notes, and then very clearly. And to me, she's currently the best that we have.
Ek reg is jy bitter goud. Diep in my hart weet ek jy is 'n fout. Meer van jou ek wil aanhou drink. Sonder jou voel ek hoe ek weer sink. Maar lê my langs jou neer en voel hoe ek terugskeer. Dis die bitter in jou soen, dis wat ek weer wil proe. Dis die laaste.
Corlia Botha with Swart Koffie, bringing to an end our search for the best. A futile search, I have to say, but a fun one nonetheless for South Africa's best female vocalist. There are so many, we've barely scratched the surface. Let me throw in Tony's suggestion just to wrap us up. Gloria Bosman, Dance All My Troubles Away. I think we're going to have round 2 of this. There's so much more to dig for, but that's it from all of us at 702 Drive. Good night.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.